of your executive team?
Yes.
And did you select Prosecutor A to be a member of your executive team?
Yes.
And that was at the beginning of your tenure as the Utah County Attorney?
Yes.
All right. And so you had close working contact with Prosecutor A, who's a member of your executive team for the past 3 years?
Yes.
And that, unless you're out of the office traveling or on vacation, that's basically every work day of the month, correct?
Yes.
All right. And have you met members of Prosecutor A's family? Let's just start with ever.
What's that?
Ever. Have you ever met members of Prosecutor A's family?
I have met his wife.
Okay.
I don't know if I've met his kids. I may have in passing, but I don't really, if I did, it was like at a function, they say, this is my family and introduce me, but I don't remember.
Have you socialized with Prosecutor A and his wife?
I think we went out to dinner once after a conference in St. George with some other prosecutors and their wives.
So put in the chat, let me know if you think they are establishing a personal connection between the county attorney and this particular attorney that would indicate maybe there would be some kind of conflict moving from one to the other. Are they that close? Let me know what you think in the chat. Or
have you ever been to Prosecutor A's home?
No.
Has Prosecutor A ever been to your home?
No.
You engage in recreational activities in any way with Prosecutor A?
No.
Whatever you do, running, pickleball?
No. I need to do more running, but unfortunately I don't.
All right, understood. Okay, now Prosecutor A has an adult child who was at the September 10th rally at Utah Valley University, correct?
That is what I mean, I don't have personal knowledge of that other than what they have told me. So like, I never saw that adult child, but I'm assuming, yes, that's true.
Okay, but on September 10th, 2025, at the moment that Mr. Kirk was shot and ultimately died from that shooting at Utah Valley University, you were in Davis County, right?
Yes, I indicated in the motion that it was Ogden, but it was actually Layton. So it was Layton.
Layton.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think that's Davis County.
All right, that's what I thought. And Prosecutor A was with you?
Yes.
Okay, and isn't it true that while you and Prosecutor A were in Davis County, you learned from Prosecutor A that one of his adult children was at the rally and was texting him about their experience?
Yes, I mean, we had just broken for lunch and he showed me the text, Charlie Kirk got shot.
And that was a text that he showed you was from one of his children, right?
Yes.
And you knew at the time that it was a text from one of his children, right?
Yes.
What did he say to you? So I'm talking about Prosecutor A.
He said, look at what my child just showed me. And that's about it. And then he said, you know, I should be getting down to UVU.
Okay, and then he left.
Yes.
And he, as far as you understand, he drove down to UVU.
Well, he drove towards UVU, yeah. He drove in the area. Okay. Ultimately, I met him and then we drove together to UVU.
Okay, so you, according to the pleading that you, and you authored the pleading that was filed.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so that, for the court's benefit, that's the state's opposition to the motion to disqualify. You
Yes.
authored that, correct?
Yes.
All right. And in it, you said that 10 to 15 minutes after Prosecutor A left the event that you were at in Davis County, you left.
Yes,
Did you also head in the direction of UVU?
Yes.
Okay, and then you and Prosecutor A met up somewhere.
Yes.
And then traveled to UVU together in your vehicle or in Prosecutor A's? I guess there's a third alternative, which is you met somebody else and traveled.
No, I don't remember whose vehicle it was.
All right, did you talk to Prosecutor A?
It was my vehicle, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
So.
And was that just about logistical convenience, like let's just go in one car, or was there a specific reason?
Yes, no, that was no other reason.
Okay. And on your way to that, what I'll call the meeting point, did you have any conversations by telephone with Prosecutor A?
Well, yeah, because we needed to meet. He left. I thought I would get some lunch first before I went to the command post. I got about halfway through that and said, my mind was not on it. I needed to go to there. And so then we called I believe I called him or he called, I'm not sure who called who, but then we met. We hadn't arranged that when he left.
Understood. But did he convey to you any more information about his child's experience in those conversations?
No.
Okay. And did you inquire?
So obviously what the defense is trying to do by questioning this witness, the county attorney, is to figure out, can they put the two together? The attorney whose child was attending the speech where Charlie Kirk was speaking, can they put that person together? They did ride over to, after the shooting, they rode over there together. They were in the same vehicle. But also remember this is the defense narrative.
We've all heard the stories. A suspect gets called in, says that they're innocent, but ends up walking out in handcuffs. But in this case, the detectives didn't threaten prison time. They threatened his dog. And within hours, a 21-year-old man signed a confession to killing his own father, who wasn't even dead. I'm Jeff Hampton, the People's Lawyer, and in this video, I'm breaking down, number one, the exact way cops got away with doing this to Thomas Perez. Number two, the specific interrogation tricks cops used to manufacture a confession. And number three, the exact steps you can take to shut down cops so that you don't end up like Mr. Perez. Because modern interrogation isn't a polite conversation where the truth floats to the top. It's a system used by cops. A pressure system. And by the end, I'll show you the single trick that shows up everywhere and cops love to use so that when you spot it, you can shut it down. In fact, this trick has now been banned in certain places because how effective it is at gaining false confessions. Most people imagine a police interrogation as a debate. They think that police just ask questions, the suspect provides an answer, and somehow the truth just floats to the top. But that's the wrong way to think about it. Because modern police interrogations are more of a pressure system than they are a question and answer. The room is controlled. The schedule is controlled. The exit door is controlled. Often, even your basic dignities like sleep, food, bathroom breaks, or even contact with your family are nothing more than a negotiating tool cops will use to take away from you if you don't play ball. What makes this so effective is that cops don't even have to raise their voice to make you feel like it's inescapable. In the case of Thomas Perez, there were no medieval instruments used. They simply used time, fatigue, and a steady drip of lies. In fact, these detectives had the power to redefine reality and change it into whatever they wanted it to be just to force Thomas to speak. But how were cops able to convince Thomas Perez to admit, to confess to murdering his father when he was still alive? They simply used one of the most dangerous interview techniques taught, packaged, and used in thousands of interview rooms by every police department in the country. Of course, I'm talking about the Reid technique. Reid's own method breaks it down into three stages. Number one, fact analysis. Number two, investigative interview, often called a behavior analysis interview. And number three, the interrogation. And of course, the famous 9 steps. First, where did this Reid technique come from? Historically, the Reid approach grew out of a mid-20th century American policing policy, and it became a dominant influence in interrogation culture. In fact, Reid & Associates dates its work back decades, with development rooting back into the late 1940s. And the method was popularized through training in books, most famously Criminal Interrogation and Confessions, first published in 1962 and updated through multiple editions. Here's the key. Reid is not primarily focused on gaining the truth. It's about getting admissions and then having those admissions hold up in court. Now, don't get me wrong, Reid will tell you that their goal is the truth. And they will say things like don't promise leniency and don't threaten. But critics will tell you something totally different. You see, under the Reid method, even if cops aren't supposed to explicitly promise leniency, they can always imply it. Even if you should never explicitly threaten, you can always imply doom. And once you combine these suggestive techniques with vulnerability and exhaustion, you end up getting confessions from people who did nothing wrong and disastrous outcomes. So let's start by talking about what the 9 steps of the Reid technique actually do. And here's the part most people miss. Because the 9 steps don't start by collecting truth. They start by collapsing your options. Step 1 is basically a magic trick because it creates certainty without any evidence. And once that certainty lands, you're no longer defending your innocence. You're negotiating the cop's story. So here's how it works. Reid's 9 steps start off with an initial confrontation. Literally, the interrogator, the cop, looks at the suspect and tells them they know they already did it. Not we're investigating or not help us understand, but it is a foreclosure. It is a well-known fact by the cops at this point, you're already guilty. In fact, the entire conversation is not about whether you did it, it's about why you did it. In a courtroom, we have rules for that kind of stuff. Burdens, presumptions, standards. But in an interrogation room, the standard is often confidence, and confidence has an unfair advantage. A famous example of this is the case of Adrian Thomas. In People v. Thomas, the defendant, Adrian Thomas, was interrogated after his infant son was hospitalized. The Court of Appeals ultimately held Thomas's statements were not demonstrably voluntary, reversed the conviction, and granted the suppression, and ordered a new trial. What makes this opinion unforgettable is how explicit the court defined the techniques and tactics used by the cops. The court outlined how son was all an accident, and that they continued to repeat to Mr. Thomas that if he would just admit to the accident, they would let him turn around and go right home. The court then said that the police started to threaten Mr. Thomas that they were going to bring in and arrest the child's mother unless he took responsibility for what they already know he did. And perhaps they used the most manipulative tactic of all. They turned around and told Mr. Thomas that the child was still alive, but the only way the child could remain alive is if he told the truth. And the cops already knew this was a lie because the child had already been declared brain dead. This is what certainty looks like when it doesn't come from evidence. It comes from control over the story. And once the story is controlled, the next step is cops are trained to offer you something that looks kind of like mercy. Because pressure alone breaks some people. But the really effective interrogations, they don't just push, they also pull. They give you an emotional exit ramp. And that
There is a park that bears her name, but Riley Fox's parents no longer live in the small community of Wilmington. They've left the town, but the town hasn't forgotten them.
I really think that it should have had, he should have got any money at all, just because the mystery's unsolved still, and we don't know what really happened.
How they did him, they did it wrong.
Kevin and Melissa Fox were all smiles following the $15 million verdict. They call it vindication.
It was 10 people on the jury, and they found that I wasn't in the wrong, that I did everything right.
3-year-old Riley Fox was taken from her home in the middle of the night. She was sexually assaulted, then dumped in a nearby river. A few months later, after an all-night interrogation, police and prosecutors gathered to announce Kevin Fox had confessed.
These detectives, I want to say, and it's their instincts. Their instincts, their investigative instincts that led to this statement coming down.
Kevin Fox claims the cops fabricated evidence, threatened him with jail rape, and promised he'd go free if he confessed. He did, but quickly recanted. Fox sat in jail for 8 months until his attorney demanded DNA tests that set Fox free. Today, a jury decided the Will County Sheriff's investigators crossed way over the line.
They have sent a message to Will County, and I hope Will County is listening, because this kind of behavior needs to stop.
All of the detectives, except for one who died, remain on the job. The current Will County State's Attorney released a statement saying, "It has always been our contention that the sheriff's deputies acted properly during the interview of Kevin Fox and that they had probable cause to arrest him."
Watch breaking news on YouTube. Subscribe to ABC7 Chicago Eyewitness News.
We think that the indictment was obtained through false testimony.
And just in, a Missouri family now suing the state of Illinois, Will County, its state's attorney, and more. WMBD's Matt Sheehan is the only reporter with access to the lawsuit this morning. Matt, what can you tell us?
Karian, that's right. This 25-page lawsuit in my hands was filed within the hour by Keith Altman's office, the attorney representing Christopher Vaughn and his parents, Pierre and Gail. They're the parents of Christopher Vaughn, who's shown right now on the screen. Vaughn was convicted of killing his wife and 3 children on June 14th, 2007. Now the prosecution is stating part of the DNA evidence submitted before a grand jury was fraudulent. Altman alleges the Illinois State forensic scientists, quote, tampered with the laboratory reports, end quote, labeling one draft, yet submitting a different report after the grand jury hearing. In the draft report, Altman's complaint claims Kimberly Vaughn, Christopher's wife, was listed as a suspect. The final submission only listed Christopher as the suspect. Altman tells me he's requesting the court remove draft from the July 3rd, 2007 lab report and add Kimberly Vaughn back as a suspect on the July 26th report.
We think that if the indictment is undone or voided, that then voids the conviction. It would be great for Christopher to be released from prison at that point. He has served approximately he's been in it for about 15 years for murders that he did not commit. It would be great, but it certainly, he deserves a new grand jury, and if they choose to indict, then a new opportunity presented evidence at the trial.
This case gained nationwide attention after the 2021 podcast series titled Murder in Illinois. Keith Altman tells me he expects the defendants to file a motion to dismiss the complaint. I'll keep an eye on these developments of this case. Kyrian, back to you.
Good morning. Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul says that they are looking for patterns of unconstitutional or unlawful policing, focusing on issues that have already been preliminarily identified by investigators looking at the Joliet Police Department.
Our actions follow a request for investigation received from the Joliet Mayor, Bob Odekirk, and members of the Joliet City Council.
Kwame Raoul says it's not a criminal investigation, although they can refer potential criminal violations to prosecutors. The goal here is to take a closer look at most every facet of the Joliet Police Department, reviewing policies, internal reports, documents, and training practices. The Joliet Police Department in recent years the subject of multiple lawsuits and poor morale, and more recently a controversy regarding the death of Eric Lurie, who was in Joliet police custody during an undercover drug sting that went bad. A man who's been described as a whistleblower. Joliet police officer Javier Escuada charged with 2 counts of official misconduct for allegedly releasing police body cam video of the deadly Lurie incident to the public. Raoul is cautioning that he's conducting a civil investigation and not looking to find criminal violations, but he can always refer matters to the feds or other law enforcement.
Consent decree could be a potential outcome. It could be something short of that might not be court monitored.
And the Illinois Attorney General has already been in contact with the mayor of Joliet, and as you heard, city council members who asked him to come in, the Attorney General to come in and examine the practices and patterns of the Joliet Police Department. At the Thompson Center, Julian Cruz,
New at 11, Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul announces a civil investigation into possible patterns or practices of unlawful policing within the Joliet Police Department. The investigation stems from the 2020 death of Eric Lurie, a 37-year-old black man who died while in Joliet police custody. Video first obtained by the CBS 2 investigators shows Lurie in the back seat of a squad car, handcuffed during a drug-related arrest. At one point, an officer was seen pinching Lurie's nose shut, while another inserted a baton into his mouth. Lurie was later pronounced dead. Attorney General Kwame Raoul says the investigation will examine the larger picture.
This will be a civil investigation that will examine whether there are systemic issues within the department that affect the Joliet Police Department's ability to police in a safe, effective, and lawful manner. While our investigation will review specific incidents, we will not be making specific findings about one incident or any one Joliet Police Department officer.
Raoul says his office will examine department policies, training and practices, and supervision as they relate to traffic and pedestrian stops, searches, arrests, and use of force.
There is no world where that isn't you, okay? I have zero doubt in my mind you're going to jail.
There are approximately 970 wrongful convictions of innocent civilians each year. These convictions result from a variety of factors, such as poor public representation, inadmissible exonerating evidence, and in some extreme cases, illicit coercion or other such dishonorable behaviors by law enforcement. These individuals, emboldened by the authority of their position, may act in the pursuit of prestige within their field, or out of some false sense of pride.
Didn't know what you want, so I got a mystery flavor. Okay.
Meet Detective Edward Gabris. At this point in the investigation, he has already made up his mind that his prime suspect is guilty. Over the course of this interview, we will observe as he ignores the facts of the case, fabricating conclusions based on zero evidence in order to validate his preconceived narrative. Also, I think his hair is fake. The following never-before-seen interrogation footage was analyzed by a professional counselor, a clinical psychologist, and a licensed attorney.
That's a cool shirt. Is that Breaking Bad, or? Heard it was a pretty good movie. You a big fan? Okay, let's just get started.
This is Corey Antonopoulos. He is being falsely accused of trespassing, public intoxication, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, indecent exposure, and horse theft. During the next several minutes, Corey displays a keen understanding of the criminal justice system and common psychological interrogation tactics. Watch as he deftly navigates accusatory pitfalls and expertly controls the course of the conversation. This man has an iron will and a recorded IQ of 168. Detective Gabris doesn't stand a chance.
So, you wrote here you're a professional counselor, clinical psychologist, and licensed attorney. Well, we looked you up and you're none of those things. You just review interrogation footage on the internet. Is that even a job?
You have no idea what you're talking about. He has no idea what he's talking about.
I mean, it just seems like you analyze body language a lot. Is that, I mean, you know that's a pseudoscience, right?
Look at the detective's body language here. Notice the weak hands, the closed posture, and the way he crosses his legs. All signs point to him being a huge bitch.
I provide professional insights into criminal and investigative psychology edutainment experience. Oh, and I got a pretty big brand deal lined up with Gord VPN. That's right. I got it in with Gord.
What?
Are you hiring me as a consultant? I don't know why I'm here.
Are you serious? Huh. You recognize that man?
Who?
The one screaming, swinging around a mace
No, his face is pretty expertly covered, and that's more of a flail than a mace. Maybe a morning star, but definitely not a mace.
You ever been to medieval times, Corey?
Medieval times? No, I'm not a time traveler.
Notice the suspect's even tone and sharpened wit completely dismantled the officer's line of questioning. Notice how the officer's chubby neck and stubby arms make him look like a dished-out Oompa Loompa.
You ever gamble, Corey?
I don't know what that has to...
Corey?
I think I played poker, like, once.
You ever gamble at medieval times?
What?
Have you ever gambled on the outcome of a medieval times tournament, say using a website?
Seems interesting. Potentially lucrative, maybe.
Seems ridiculous to me. I mean, it's no meaningful odds there. It's just play fighting for kids, not the Kentucky Derby.
The detective here is wrong and dumb. Actually, the determinable outcomes of a medieval times tournament are influenced by a multitude of statistical probabilities and external factors. For example, if a particularly intelligent individual were to attend enough dinner shows to recognize patterns within the rotating cast of performers assigned to each show, he could then determine, let's say, for the 7 p.m. Thursday show, that Sir Keith with the beard will always be the winner. This enterprising individual could then wager the entire mortgage of his mother's house on Sir Keith with 100% certainty.
Tell me about this $180,000 loss on joustersjackpot.net.
99% certainty.
Now that charges for the 14th, and this receipt from Medieval Times for 11 Pretty Princess Pinuritas, that's also from the 14th.
Notice how the detective has employed zero psychological tactics from his investigative tool belt. He's not even following the read method. He's just dryly reading a long list of evidence with zero consideration for the potential entertainment value of an analysis video. Also, I bet if I were in the suspect's position, I'd be almost gagging from the stench of egg salad on the interrogator's breath.
Both these charges here are on your card.
Oh, yeah, no, now that I think about it, I guess I was there. Yeah, that's the place with the really good soup. Okay, yeah. You know, it makes sense, too, because I'm remembering that there was horns and horses and knights during the soup.
Right. We have multiple eyewitnesses near your table claiming you were belligerently cheering for the Blue Knight. Now, did you make a bet on the Blue Knight, or?
No, I was just cheering with everyone else.
Alongside everyone else?
Yeah. Yes.
You were in seat D4. That's the Green Knight section.
Okay. I'm pretty sure it was like a bluish green, like a teal section.
No, it was green. I checked. Then you were quoted as saying, "Shit, where's Sir Keith? Where the fuck is Keith with the beard? Who the hell is this new guy?
I
Get off your ass, blue. You're supposed to win me that green, but now all I see is red." It's a clever chant. Then you start screaming the C word until security asks you to leave, at which point you stole a whole pot of soup and stormed off.
Got it to go. It was good soup. Got in my car. I went.
Corey, several statements corroborate that after the show, a heavily intoxicated man wearing an executioner's mask from the gift shop broke into the cast dressing rooms and started threatening people with a boiling pot of soup, demanding money.
So, anybody.
How about we continue watching this video of our unidentified suspect?
Where's Sir Keith? Where's that no-show fuck? I'm gonna dunk his beard in boiling bisque, and anyone who tries to stop me is getting souped!
You spilled the soup.
How do you know that's me? Night, let alone any.
Corey, there is no world where that isn't you. Okay? I have zero doubt in my mind you're going to jail.
Okay. Wow.
Take a look at the confidence displayed by Corey here. A clear sign of his innocence. See how he widens his posture, spreading his legs and lifting one of them slightly, not only appearing larger and therefore more dominant, but also shifting the axis of their shared eye line, completely throwing off the detective's concentration.
Did you just fart?
No.
Oh my God. Oh, it smells like you. You were quoted as saying, "I lost it all, I'm ruined. Where's that imposter Blue Knight? He gave me blue balls, and now I can't get it up financially." Sound familiar? "My deal with Gord is bound to flake, so take me to the King's Coin. His purse better be fat, or my goose is cooked." And after you spilled hot soup on yourself, you panicked and grabbed a mace. Flail, from the weapons rack and started swinging indiscriminately into the crowd.
Allegedly.
Then you stepped on the head of Freedom, the show falcon.
Allegedly.
So the staff locked you in the stables, at which point you escaped by taking a horse hostage.
Allegedly.
Library time's up. Back to D block.
I told you I was making a video.
You have 5 minutes.
Okay.
And then you're done.
Okay. That's right, walk away, bitch.
You got a problem?
What? Nothing, almost done. Allegedly.
You screamed, "My knight lost the grail, so this horse gets the flail." Seems like a inappropriate time to rhyme.
Is that all you got?
Here you are, backing out past security, holding the horse at flail point. There you are leaving the front lobby after the horse drags you through the gift shop a couple times. Here you are re-entering the building, presumably to use the bathroom because, yep, there you are going into the restroom with the horse. At this point, he's kicking you pretty hard in the head.
So far, the detective has grainy footage of an unidentifiable suspect, completely circumstantial eyewitness testimonies, and nipples so thick you can see them through his polo.
Now here's the horse dragging you out of the bathroom, out of the building with your pants around your ankles. The footage is a bit blurry, but you're leaving a pretty noticeable trail of feces behind you there, which did eventually lead us to the missing horse down the highway, but by then, of course, you were gone.
What? The only real thing you have here is some random video.
Well, I wouldn't say.
You can't legally prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that I even stayed after the show. This is useless.
Well, it's not entirely useless. I mean, it did keep you here long enough to get the results from the DNA test.
DNA test? From what?
Well, remember when you fear farted so hard you shit your pants earlier?
No.
Well, we tested those pants against the feces all over the crime scene, and what does that say? Perfect match.
I never diarrheaed my pants here.
Oh, you're gonna cut that out of your little...
This video is brought to you by Gord VPN. Gord VPN is the worst VPN because it's full of flakes who will completely renege on a deal after months of negotiating. And in the middle of a...
Hey, what did I say?
I'm done. I'm literally done.
Then shut it down.
You said I had 5 minutes. It's only been like 4.5.
Whatever.
Illinois' Attorney General announcing an investigation into possibly unlawful practices by members of the Joliet Police Department.
WGN's Julian Cruz is live in downtown Joliet with more on what it means. Julian?
Ben, he arrived just minutes ago. Kwame Raoul, the Illinois Attorney General, and his team of investigators meeting privately at this hour, we are told, with community stakeholders here at the Joliet Area Historical Museum. The Attorney General formally opening up an investigation into the patterns and practices of the Joliet Police Department, both patrol officers and supervisors.
This will be a civil investigation that will examine whether there are systemic issues within the department.
Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul at the Thompson Center formally announcing an investigation into possible unlawful or unconstitutional policing by the Joliet Police Department.
After reviewing publicly available information and thousands of documents from the Joliet Police Department, we identified sufficient areas of concern to warrant initiating a pattern or practice investigation.
Raoul says Joliet's mayor and members of the city council requesting the investigation way back in June of 2020. For decades, the Joliet Police Department suffering low morale, the subject of multiple misconduct lawsuits.
We will look at policies and practices related to use of force, as well as supervisory and department reviews of those incidents.
The controversial 2020 death of Eric Lurie in Joliet police custody once again drawing attention. The Will County coroner, you may remember, determining that Lurie's cause of death was an overdose of fentanyl, heroin, and cocaine packets that he's said to have swallowed during a drug sting. Raoul meeting yesterday with Lurie's loved ones.
I personally met with the family of Eric Lurie, his widow, and other family members, and I offered my condolences.
But Raoul making it clear to the family and community leaders that his intent here is not to reopen the Eric Lurie case or to second-guess the independent investigation and conclusions reached by the Will County State's attorney, who concluded that Lurie's death was not caused by the action or inaction of Joliet police officers. In Joliet, Julian Cruz, WGN News.
Thanks, Julian.
On the day a whistleblower cop was set to go to trial in Kendall County, all the charges against him were officially dropped.
Now retired Joliet Police Sergeant Javier Esqueda was charged in connection with leaking squad car video of a man who died in Joliet police custody. Our Megan Hickey sat down exclusively with Esqueda about this surprise ending to this controversial case 4 years in the making. Megan?
Right, Joe and Erica, and the public never would have seen the disturbing squad car video first obtained by the CBS Chicago investigators without Javier Esqueda speaking up and leaking it back in 2020. He faced serious prison time for that move. That is until today.
We're supposed to be good cops. We're supposed to do the right thing. That whole thing was just dirty.
The January 2020 Joliet PD squad camera video shows 37-year-old Eric Lurie shortly before he died in police custody. A lawsuit later filed by his family says 2 officers tried to retrieve bags containing drugs from his mouth, and in doing so, pinched his nose shut for nearly 2 minutes, suffocating him. The video even shows one cop shoving a baton in Lurie's mouth, blocking his airway. Then Joliet Police Sergeant Javier Esqueda said Joliet PD swept the whole thing under the rug.
As far as the internal investigation for what they did, they didn't start it until after I blew the whistle.
So he spoke up first to CBS Chicago investigators in July 2020.
It was a cover-up to hide it from the family.
Black Lives Matter! The incident and the community's outrage led to an investigation by the Illinois Attorney General's office, which just last week determined the Joliet Police Department has a pattern of using excessive force. But in the meantime, shortly after speaking out to CBS Chicago, Esqueda was arrested and charged with felony official misconduct for the leak. Was this in retaliation for talking to CBS Chicago?
It was. It was a retaliation.
He faced the possibility of 20 years in prison, $400,000 in fines, and the loss of his police pension after 29 years on the job.
That means I would lose everything. Just thinking about that every day was stressful. I'm going to lose being able to take care of my family, my son.
We've been following Escueda's years-long fight ever since, 4 years and 56 days to be exact, until a surprise motion was filed just last week. The prosecutor's office wrote that they received, quote, additional materials which were not originally tendered to the state's attorney's office, which have caused our office to reevaluate the evidence in this case. The case was officially dropped in a hearing on Monday.
Do you regret it?
I have no regrets. I said that from the beginning. You have to do the right thing.
And the Will County Coroner's Office ruled Lurie died from heroin, fentanyl, and cocaine intoxication. Neither the Kendall County State's Attorney's Office or the Joliet Police Department responded to our request for comment on this surprising turn in this case. In the newsroom, Megan Hickey, CBS News Chicago investigators.
Thank you, Megan.
He says he was snatched off the streets of Joliet because he refused to stop panhandling there. Now he's suing the city and talking tonight to CBS 2's Mike Parker.
What was last winter like for you?
Hell, did you say it? That was rough.
Brian Davidson is a homeless man who panhandles on the streets of Joliet. Because of that, he says police have harassed, ticketed him, and intimidated him time after time. He recalls one night in December, a run-in with 2 police officers downtown.
Next thing I know, they're handcuffing me. Throw me in the back of the car, and they said they're going to take me for a ride.
Davidson says the ride took him across 10 miles of country highway to the little town of Shanahan. They left him there in sub-zero cold.
They think that that badge is the most powerful thing in the world, and that they can just push anybody where they want to.
Now he is suing the city of Joliet, hoping a federal judge will strike down Joliet's law that outlaws panhandling. His lawyer is John Schrock.
We believe the statute's unconstitutional. It should be stricken.
Davidson also accuses police of destroying his tent and belongings in an effort to get him to leave town. But he says they don't have the right and hopes a court will support him.
I'm not doing this just for me. I'm doing this for every homeless person that's out there that gets harassed.
Joliet's city attorney.
Hello, I'm Chief Roche with the Joliet Police Department. Recently we had an incident where a subject knocked on the door of a residence and stated he worked for the city's water department and needed to check the water lines in the basement. The subject then entered the residence uninvited and stated he wanted to go to the basement. The resident refused to allow the subject to enter the basement. The subject then left when the resident went to take a picture of the subject's vehicle. Nothing was taken and the case is now being investigated. I'd like to remind everyone that with the stay-at-home order given by the governor, along with the policies enacted by the city of Joliet,
The Somali community in Minnesota has been in the news recently because of a massive federal fraud. case and heated political rhetoric from President Trump.
Jonah Kaplan of CBS News Minnesota has an exclusive look now at how fraudsters spent hundreds of millions in taxpayer dollars.
A honeymoon in the Maldives, a fleet of luxury cars. Here's a box with more than $270,000 in cash. This was all evidence from a new trove of files obtained exclusively by CBS News, showing how a group of convicted Minnesota fraudsters spent taxpayer dollars. One text message reads, "You are going to be the richest 25-year-old.
We're not even at the end of the beginning of our pursuit of the stolen money and of the people who stole it."
U.S. Attorney Daniel Rosen leads the office digging into the wave of COVID-era fraud that hit Minnesota.
So how much money are we talking about stolen from the American taxpayer?
I can say with great comfort, well in excess of $1 billion.
In the past 3 years, 87 defendants have been charged, 61 convicted. The majority of them are Somali American. Minnesota has the nation's largest Somali population. The perpetrators are accused of ripping off state-run programs intended to feed low-income kids, house the disabled, and provide services to autistic children.
This was a get-rich scheme.
Andy Luger was the U.S. attorney who first examined this fraud. He left in January.
One of the things we discovered is that a number of the people involved were buying investment property, resort property in Kenya.
Wire transfers reviewed by CBS News also show more than $1 million went to Chinese banks. The Trump administration has said it's investigating whether any of the money fell into the hands of terror groups like al-Shabaab in Somalia. But both Luger and Rosen agree the evidence so far shows the criminals were only interested in getting rich.
So there's no evidence that any of these convicted or those who are charged sent a check and directly gave it to al-Shabaab?
I think that's a fair characterization.
These are federally funded programs. They happen in every U.S. state. What happened here in Minnesota that allowed this?
For 5 months, we've been investigating what appears to be rampant fraud in a massive state program. A fraud suspected of costing Minnesota taxpayers as much as $100 million a year. Our reporting is based on public records and nearly a dozen government sources who have direct knowledge of what's happening. These sources have a deep fear, and there's evidence to support their concerns that some of that public money is ending up in the hands of terrorists. We begin at Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport, where mysterious suitcases filled with cash have become a fairly common carry-on. It's the morning of March 15th. We're chasing a tip about a man who's leaving the country. Our sources tell us he just took a carry-on bag through security that was packed with $1 million cash. You can do that as long as you fill out one of these government forms. We're told these cloak and dagger-like scenarios now happen almost weekly at MSP International. The money is usually headed to the Middle East, Dubai, and points beyond. Our sources say last year alone, more than $100 million cash left MSP in carry-on luggage.
What we were interested in is where it was going.
The national go-to expert on what's behind these mysterious money transfers is Glenn Kearns. He's a former Seattle police detective who spent 15 years on the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force until his retirement.
It's an outright crime. It's unbelievable.
Kearns tracked millions of dollars in cash that was leaving on flights from Seattle. It was coming from hawalas, businesses used to courier money to countries that have no official banking system. Some immigrant communities rely on hawalas to send funds to help impoverished relatives back home. Kearns discovered some of the money was being funneled to a hawala in a region of Somalia that's controlled by the al-Shabaab terrorist group.
So I talked to a couple sources who had lived in that region, and I said, if money is going to this hawala, do you think it's going to al-Shabaab? And he said, oh, definitely. That area is controlled by al-Shabaab, and they control the hawala there.
He says when the money arrives, whether it was intended for legitimate purposes or not, al-Shabaab or other groups demand a cut. As Kearns dug deeper, he found that some of the individuals who were sending out tens of thousands of dollars worth of remittance payments happened to be on government assistance in this country. How could they possibly come up with such big bucks to transfer back home?
We had sources that told us it's all about it's welfare fraud. It's all about the daycare.
To better understand the connection between daycare fraud and the surge in carry-on cash, you have to look at the history of this crime.
5 years ago, the Fox 9 investigators were first to report that daycare fraud was on the rise here in Minnesota. We exposed how some businesses were gaming the system to steal millions in government subsidies meant to help low-income families with their child care expenses.
This is a great way to make some money. I think it's kind of that informal word of mouth.
In order for the scheme to work, the daycare centers need to sign up low-income families that qualify for child care assistance funding. These surveillance videos are from a case prosecuted by Hennepin County. They show parents checking their kids into a center only to leave with them a few minutes later. Sometimes no children would show up. But either way, the center would bill the state for a full day of child care. This video from that same case shows a man handing out envelopes of what are believed to be kickback payments to parents who are in on the fraud.
Where was the money going?
I don't know exactly where it went, but it adds up when you begin to look at how many people are involved.
One recent federal case points to at least some of the money going overseas.
Of the United States.
This is video of Fozia Ali being sworn in as a member of the City of Hopkins Park Board. As she was taking her oath of office, she was also under investigation for wire fraud and theft of public money. State and federal agents had already raided Ali's daycare center in South Minneapolis. The business was suspected of billing the government for over $1 million worth of bogus child care services.
We found records that indicated that she was collecting a significant amount of money for a much larger number of children than were actually attending the center.
Did any of the money go overseas?
We are aware that some of the funds went overseas, which she was cashing out money from the business.
Do you have any idea what it was going for?
I can't say.
Can't say or don't know?
I can't say.
Investigators analyzed Ali's cell phone to track her activities. She'd taken a 2-month trip from Minnesota to Dubai and then Kenya, staying at times in $800 a night hotel rooms. She used an app on her phone to bill the state of Minnesota for child care services while she was out of the country. Ali pled guilty to the daycare fraud and this March started serving time in a federal prison. She declined our request for an interview.
We believe that there's a scope of fraud out there that we need to really get our arms around and ensure that those dollars are going to the kids that really need them.
The acting commissioner for the Department of Human Services told us his agency has 10 daycares currently under active investigation for fraud. We've learned dozens more are considered suspicious. Search warrants obtained by the Fox 9 investigators show each one of the suspect centers has received several $1 million in child care assistance funds. According to public records and government sources, most are owned by Somali immigrants.
Do you have any evidence to suggest this looks like organized crime?
There's a common pattern in how a lot of these are carried out, but beyond that, not something that I would directly categorize as organized crime.
Sources in the Somali community tell us it's an open secret that starting a daycare center is a license to make money. The fraud is so widespread, they say, that people buy shares of daycare businesses to get a cut of the huge public subsidies that are pouring in. Some government insiders believe this scam is costing the state at least $100 million a year, half of all child care subsidies.
Is that within the realm of possibility?
I don't think half sounds credible. I certainly think that some of the schemes that we're seeing, and certainly the ones that we've brought forward already for prosecution, involve millions of dollars. I mean, this is not a small scale that we're looking at.
Minnesota started aggressively going after daycare fraud in 2014. Back then, it was easier to track the flow of money. The state would pay a daycare's bill, and within hours of the money showing up in the business's bank account, funds were being wired to the United Arab Emirates. But those wire transfers stopped after a few centers were busted, which takes us back to the suitcases of cash at Minneapolis St. Paul International. In 2015, investigators documented $14 million in carry-on cash. By 2016, it had mushroomed to $84 million, and then last year, $100 million. A trend all too familiar to former terrorism investigator Glenn Kearns.
How much confidence can you say that it's likely some of this money is going towards terrorism?
I say absolutely, absolutely. Our sources tell us that. Good sources from the community, leaders. My personal feeling is we need a nationwide task force to clamp down on this kind of fraud.
This crime is spreading. Our sources tell us fraudsters in other states are now using the Minnesota playbook to rip off millions of public dollars meant to help kids. I'm Fox 9 investigator Jeff Ballion.
Have never been arrested before.
If you think this is the best for our children, we need new members to replace you 4.
I have never in my life been arrested, and I'm 73 years old. I never had a speeding ticket.
Charged with revealing grand jury evidence.
They didn't handcuff me. They shackled me. When I saw Dawn standing there, I'm assuming it was like a holding cell.
I was hoping she was coming to get me out of jail, but then I saw the handcuffs on her and all, and
He looked at me, and I held my hands up with the cuffs, and Dawn's face just fell.
this is going to be the end of this newspaper career right here, because in a small town you don't get arrested and stay in a public job.
Sherry Digman, Ashley Four, Cindy Jackson, and Don Fletcher never imagined that they would end up in jail in Lower Alabama. How the Atmore Four got there is a winding tale that should concern every American. Sherry Digman is a pillar of the community in Escambia County, Alabama.
I've been reporting in Atmore for almost 35 years. I had covered schools for so many years and had been in and out of the schools, had interacted with teachers and principals.
Sherry and the other board members were unhappy with the way that School Superintendent Michelle McClung treated people in the district.
Now, I know every superintendent likes to have their own people in place, and I understand that. But she was pushing out people who have served for decades and have served well. Teachers would get in touch with me and say, don't mention my name, but this is going on, but we're so afraid of retaliation.
Superintendent Michelle McClung made powerful friends in Escambia County, like District Attorneys Stephen Billy and Sheriff Heath Jackson. Both men used the weight of their offices to support her. In August 2023, McClung's allies called a surprise vote to renew her contract. Although the board wasn't set to consider her contract for another 6 months, they were voting to give her a 4-year contract extension for an unspecified amount of money. The vote failed 4-3.
And we are up now to action items, item number 6, action items, to discuss the superintendent's evaluations and next steps. It is a wise decision on the part of this board to move to the next steps.
Well, Chairman, I make a motion to renew the employment contract with Superintendent Michelle McClung.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm not. No.
For the vote of 4-3, it has been motioned that we will not today renew the superintendent's contract.
Of the 14 years that I've been on the school board, we have never renewed a contract for the superintendent that early as what she wanted.
After the first vote failed, the sheriff and the district attorney began a loud public campaign to support McClung, threatening anyone who stood in her way. Meanwhile, they started a bogus investigation behind the scenes. Billy subpoenaed the board for records, and Sheriff Jackson served the papers on payroll supervisor Ashley Four.
I said, "Yes, sir. Sheriff, what can I do for you?" And he said, "Well, I've got a subpoena." There was nothing on the subpoena that led me to believe that it was top secret or confidential. The only person that I shared that subpoena with at that time was Ms. Richardson, my CSFO, who was also named on said subpoena.
Richardson, the school's chief financial officer, then sent the subpoena to Cindy, who shared it with other board members.
I did not know that it was confidential. It did not say anything on there. It was confidential when the CFO sent it to me.
When the board considered McClung's contract again, Billy stood up and warned that opposing McClung was against the law.
At this time, we're going to have our hard-working district attorney, Mr. Steve Billy, to come and share comments with us at this time.
Okay. Like people in communities have been hearing things from board members that things about Ms. McClung, the things that she had done, that she was going to be indicted by a grand jury. I don't control much, but I do control a grand jury of this county. And I can tell you, this lady right here is not going to be brought before a grand jury because there's nothing to bring before a grand jury. I stated that your oath of office you took. Did you take that lightly? If you look under Alabama Code 16.1-41.1, look at your duties as a board member. Look at that. That's what you took an oath of office to uphold.
I make a motion to renew the employment contract with Superintendent Michelle McClung.
For the first time in 12 years, I'm ashamed of being on this board. And I'm ashamed of the members who voted no, because they, as Mr. Billy said, gave their oath to do the best for the children.
I just couldn't understand what all this was about and why he was doing that when, you know, he's never been before and now he's wanting to tell us what to do.
Regardless of how everybody else was going to vote, I was going to vote no to extend or renew the contract. I just felt that strongly about it.
No one changed their vote, so Billy and Sheriff Jackson retaliated. Deputies then seized Cindy and Sherry's phones, prompting Don Fletcher to write a story for Atmore News. That story revealed the DA's subpoena.
The story that we wrote in that same issue about the BOE investigations and all, that was all routine to me until Steve Billy let it hit a sore spot on him.
Billy's subpoena was a trap. In response to Don's story, he charged the Atmore 4 with revealing grand jury secrets, but there was no grand jury.
So we published it and then went to jail because of it.
According to the court documents, Ford is accused of providing grand jury investigation information to members of the media. Fletcher's accused of printing an article containing grand jury investigation information. Well, it's still unclear what the accusations are against Digman, but according to jail records, she's facing the same charge as Ford and Fletcher.
Billy kept up his harassment of Sherry for the next 4 months, trying to force her out of office.
After the first arrest, Steve Billy had me arrested a second time for ethics violation, and there was also a prayer for impeachment from office. He had me arrested a third time for bond reduction, which I did not ask for and did not know he was doing.
Just 1 week after Sherry's third arrest, Billy suddenly withdrew from the cases. He finally admitted to the court that he had both personal and professional conflicts that should have kept him from filing the charges in the first place. The state attorney general took over and quickly dropped all the charges. But for the Atmore 4, the damage was done.
I had to borrow $6,000, $1,000 to pay 10% to the bonding agency and $5,000 for the retainer for the attorney.
So it's cost us quite a bit monetarily, and then what I can say about what it has done to me, my husband, my children, there are no price tags for what it has cost us. I had to ask permission to go take care of my father. I had to ask permission to go outside the state of Alabama. We had already started the paperwork to ask permission to go watch my son, who was serving this country, graduate from basic training when the case was dismissed.
During that time, I was not able to eat. I threw up. I couldn't sleep. I had anxiety. They called me in some medicine, and to this day, I'm still on it.
The DA and sheriff haven't faced any consequences for retaliating against the Atmore 4. That's why IJ is suing. The First Amendment ensures that government officials can't use their authority to punish people who disagree with them.
What I hope to accomplish with this lawsuit is to get some of my dignity back. The truth is going to come out.
And that's been a real realization for a lot of people. They can do this to anybody. They can come and arrest you, and they will, if they feel like they have cause. I hope the lawsuit makes people realize that you do have recourse, that there is somebody out there who is willing to come in and stand beside us and realize that this was wrong. Even in a small town in a small county, it's just wrong.
So last week, I posted a video about this crazy police interaction that happened in Taylor County, West Virginia, where the cops showed up at this guy's house without a warrant over a Facebook post and arrested him.
Freedom of speech. I can say whatever I want. I could 100% write up a warrant for you. I'm not. You want me to do that? Okay, that's fine. I'll gladly do that for you. I came down. Well, I came down. Hold on, I'm talking to you. You're not walking away from me. No, get back over here. You want me? Turn around. I came down here to talk to you like a man and be cool with you.
About this crazy police interaction that happened.
Like that to me. Yeah. Fine. Good job there. For him to make some of the comments that he's making, I'm not going to put up with that.
The video, despite getting demonetized about 4 hours in, is still going, almost up to 1 million views. The YouTube video has made the front page of the newspaper there where this happened. That newspaper article contains the response from the county there, and you're not going to believe what their defense is to what you saw in the video. So because this police officer was butthurt about something that this guy Paul said on Facebook, he arrested him without a warrant from his home, threw him in jail where he sat for 2 days, which then caused Paul to lose his job, even though, because the charges were baseless, the prosecutor later had to drop the charges. So I posted that video and it immediately took off. Then 4 hours in, the video's just charging along, boom, it gets demonetized. The little green money sign in my YouTube studio turns yellow. At the time I had no idea why. I thought maybe it was some conspiracy, some robot messed up, so I appealed it. When the appeal came back confirmed by review by a human reviewer, it actually gave a timestamp. It said inappropriate language at 15 minutes and 28 seconds. And I thought that I had already censored the profanities in the video, and it's usually not required. It just can't be at the front of the video, but I censor them anyways if I have time. But unbeknownst to me, softly in the background, there's one of the several words that just cannot be spoken anywhere in a video. It begins with an F, and it's a homophobic slur. I didn't know it was in there. That completely demonetized the video. That's the reason. I was told I could delete it, edit it out, and re-upload the video and be fine, fully monetized. But the video was doing great. It's not about money. People were watching it, so I said no. I just left it demonetized, which it still is. Then people start sending me this newspaper today from that area, the Mountain Statesman. Headline, Taylor County officials address recent YouTube video. The sheriff there, Terry Austin, is quoted as saying this. Austin said that unfortunately these kinds of videos with specific agendas against law enforcement officials have been released across the nation and continue to be released at a fast rate. The reasoning is simple. The lawyer in the video was seeking money, Austin said, so he used footage to fit his narrative. But actually, YouTube must have seen something wrong with the video because they demonetized it so he could no longer collect. So the sheriff there actually thinks the fact that that video got demonetized is somehow exculpatory for the fact that one of his deputies is caught on video violating somebody's civil rights in an egregious manner. But this article just gets worse, and I really can't believe it. Anyways, here's what the article reported. And by the way, the reporter never, to my knowledge, attempted to reach out to me about any of this. But anyways, it says, a video with the narrative of civil rights infractions made by a Taylor County Sheriff's deputy has been making its rounds on social media, and with growing concern from residents, the Taylor County Commission met to discuss the issue. The governing body called a special meeting Monday at 9:30 a.m., citing the need to discuss legal and personnel matters, topics typically discussed in an executive session. During the meeting, the sheriff, Terry A. Austin, reported that an investigation was launched following a release of the initial video nearly a year ago. I think he means discovered. That's when they first knew about it. He continued, the footage was edited and the video's creator picked and chose what he wanted to release, Austin said. We have addressed the video and investigated the matter thoroughly. Austin said that the individual in the video expressed that he did not want to see the officers in trouble following the initial incident. However, the body cam footage was released to the video's maker, i.e. me, and has now become a hot topic among residents. Well, first of all, it was never released. A complaint was made by the victim in the video, Paul. And according to Paul, the sheriff, after he complained about what happened, just never even bothered to return his call or get back to me. But now the sheriff is saying that there was some big investigation and that Paul asked him not to do anything about it. I don't think Paul got the memo. And clearly that's a responsibility that we want to place on Paul. Let's continue with the article. What we want the community to know is that there were things that had happened with the suspect before the events seen on the video, as well as after, Austin said. When the incident initially occurred a year ago, we took our investigations seriously. So here they're upset that they got caught. They thought they had patched things up, with Paul anyways. But again, Paul didn't get the memo. They're upset that the video was given to me and that the public got to see it. So he says that there are things that happened before as well as after. Well, what are you talking about? The body cam footage that I showed you in the video, there was nothing before that I didn't show you. I show you from the very first instant that he turned his body cam on. There's nothing before.
How you doing? Oh, man. Can I help you? Yeah, I'm looking for Mr. O'Brien.
At the end, the last thing that you see, I also showed you. That's where the officer, Deputy Mail, had just thrown Paul in jail, and he looks at the other deputy with a grin on his face because of what he just did. And boom, that's where the other deputy turns his body cam off. So you saw the very beginning and you saw the very ending. Other than that, he's lying. There is nothing before, there's nothing after. And he's being very vague. I think what he's saying is there are personal attacks he'd like to make against Paul. Because what do cops do when they get caught violating people's civil rights? Well, they attack either the messenger, like me, which they did here, and or they attack the victim, which they're also wanting to do here apparently. Paul didn't deserve civil rights. I mean, that's where they go with these things. Yes, but you need to know the context. You need to know what Paul's criminal history was, all the bad things that Paul had done in his life before this happened to fully understand the context, and also things that Paul has done afterwards. That's what he's saying in code here. And no, it doesn't matter. In fact, you see this video in perfect context, and I'm going to show you the video footage again. Since they gave me an opportunity to remonetize this footage, let's go ahead and go through that footage again.
How you doing? Oh, man. Can I help you? Yeah, I'm looking for Mr. O'Brien. He's inside. Okay, you want to go get him? I need to talk to him. Thank you. No, I just need to talk to him real quick about an issue. How's it going, Paul? Oh, pretty good, man. I just wanted to talk to you for a minute, because it sounded like you had an issue with one of our deputies. Yeah, he called me home last night. He followed you home last night? Zane? I don't know. Who was it? Well, listen, man, when you're making the comments that you're making on Facebook, that kind of brings issue to me, you know what I mean? For one, the direction that our department's going in is a lot different than what it was 30 years ago, okay? Secondly, when you bring up Howard Ferris, you bring up somebody that's important to me, because he was like my uncle, okay? So if there was something, anything negative or ill or anything like that towards him, I would have 100%. So, and when you make comments such as if you had an M80, you give him a heart attack, that can be taken as a terroristic threat. Okay? So, freedom of speech. You know what I'm saying? When you're saying you wish you had an M80 to give a deputy a heart attack, that I could 100% write up a warrant for you. I'm not a deputy a heart attack, that I could 100% write up a warrant for you. I'm not. You want me to do that? Okay, that's fine. I'll gladly do that for you. I came down. I gotta go to work. Well, I came down. Hold on, I'm talking to you. You're not walking away from me. No, get back over here. You want me? Turn around. That's fine. You want to do that? We can do that. No problem, bud. I came down here to talk to you like a man and be cool with you, and you want to say something like that to me. Yeah. Cool. Fine. You good job there.
Anything on you you're not supposed to have?
No. Take that stuff out. I don't understand why you got to be like this when I'm coming down here to talk to you and be cool with you.
What's your reasoning?
My reasoning is you're threatening one of my officers.
Oh, really?
That's my reasoning.
Anything in your waistband?
No.
I raised him, I know him too.
That's why I came down here to talk to him.
I don't understand that. I say he's on that shit. He's got that shit in him. That's all I can say.
Because
he's not like that. I mean,
he's never been that way.
He's been fine for, I mean, his grandpa just died not long ago. He spent 3 years taking care of him.
Yep. Yeah.
And and I don't know what's going on. He's just got a lot of confusion going on right now, and I'd say he got in that dope last night.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure, but I'd say that's what's happened. So.
Because I mean, honestly, I wanted to come down here and talk to him because I have.
Well, yeah, I heard you being respectful, and he's got to show himself. I don't understand that either.
But when you're saying that when you're taking pictures of my deputies doing their job, and then you're saying you're going to throw M80s at them.
Well, I understand.
That's a threatening.
I mean, that's a threatening manner, and yeah, it would be. It would be. Not to mention the deputy wasn't following him. He was literally parked in front of the hot dog house running radar. Right. Yeah, I see him down there sitting all the time.
You know what I mean?
So that's wrong with that.
We've had a lot of drug activity down through here.
Right.
We've been getting complaints.
I understand that.
So we're working on it. And
right, I understand that. There is a lot of people running around down here.
For him to make some of the comments that he's making, I'm not going to put up with that. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. So
I appreciate it. Like, what was your name? Alrighty, sir. Here's his stuff. I mean, I'm not going to take this stuff.
All right, I'll get it. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
I'm sorry you had to see that, sir. Yes, sir. Thanks, sir. Thanks, guys. I'm going to slow roll.
So the county commission decided not to take any sort of personnel or disciplinary action against the officer. They say the issue was already handled internally. No other sanctions were needed to be taken against the officers. There was little else for the commission to do. In the last year, we've had no issues with the deputy in the video. And per the request of the gentleman in the video, no suspensions were made. The sheriff's office thought it was done and over with because it had been dealt with. If it weren't for that pesky civil rights lawyer on YouTube, we wouldn't have to be discussing this now, right? But the article continued, and get this. However, to show the community they are taking the issue seriously, the commission agreed to provide funding for training for all law enforcement officials in the county not to exceed $4,000. Not to exceed $4,000. So that's good that they are looking at additional training, and they've hired an expert to look into the body cam footage to better guide them. And I know the lawyer that they're getting to do it, and he knows what he's doing. So I truly do applaud what they're doing there with the training. Now, maybe they should spend more than $4,000, but they are the elected representatives of the taxpayers in that county. Then the article wrote, "It is the belief of Austin, the sheriff, that if the officers had set out to violate civil rights, they would not have documented the interaction." He said there are key elements in the video that were simply misconstrued. When the full body cam footage was seen by the magistrate, it was decided that there was probable cause for the charge, but then it was dropped by the prosecutor, Austin said. So that's a laughable explanation. That's a laughable defense. And when he says that the video, parts of the video or key elements of the video were misconstrued by me, he conveniently doesn't say which parts. And for your convenience, just so they can't make me the bad guy, I am going to post on my blog the full, unedited, raw, uncensored, so there are a couple bad words in there, uncensored body cam footage you can watch from the little beep at the beginning when the officer turns his body cam on to his little smile at the end where he turns his body cam off. The whole thing. I'm cutting nothing. So you can look at the cuts that I did make in the original video and see if I cut out key elements just to take a perfectly legal interaction and to misconstrue it as something illegal and malicious. And then you'll see right through the lies that I misled nobody. The only parts I cut out were irrelevant parts, dead space, things just to speed up the video. If it was important, I included it in the video, unless YouTube required me by their guidelines to censor it in some way. So the big takeaway here really in my mind is that the county commission itself, which is the county in West Virginia, seems to have acknowledged that Paul was done wrong, that his civil rights were violated, and that they left it up to the sheriff to handle the discipline, which he apparently didn't do, and that they are nevertheless going to order additional review and training. So I think the county has done the right thing here. But the sheriff, this guy Terry Austin, has not. His only response is to attack me and to attack the victim. So now, you know what? I don't even care about the deputies so much anymore. Now, I'm very interested in this sheriff, Terry Austin. I've already received a load of information about this guy. Some very interesting stuff. Enough to make another video, I believe, but please keep it coming. This guy is very special. So there you have it. Let me know in the comments what you think. You can watch the full unedited video. Did I cut out key elements? Did I mislead you in any way? Let me know in the comments. And if the sheriff, Terry Austin, wants to leave a comment of his own or tell the newspaper, please be specific. What key elements did I leave out? Did I cut out the part where he had a warrant to arrest this guy? I don't think so. Remember, our rights don't end where your fear begins. Freedom is scary. Deal with it.
You have unlimited authority to make requests or demands on that day, on October 23rd, 2013. Did you have unbounded, unlimited authority to make requests and demands of Mr. Gray such that Mr. Gray's refusal to comply or acquiesce with such request or demand would subject him to arrest, could subject him to arrest for resisting or disobeying you?
Yes.
What's going on? Good.
Get ready in you.
For what? I mean, detained or anything?
No, you're not being detained, but you've made yourself
Good, how
part
are
of
you?
this traffic stop.
No, I'm observing the traffic stop.
Who are you?
I'm a journalist gathering content for a story.
I'm sorry?
Journalist gathering content for a story.
For a story? What kind of story?
Just a story I'm working on.
What's the name of your story? What company do you work for?
Hold on a second.
What's your name? Oh, I see. You're one of those kind of guys. Okay. Well, do me a favor. Stand over here in the shade.
All right.
But don't stand behind this deputy while he's conducting.
That's why I was standing more over there when you guys
Well, actually, you were, sir. So stand over there, like I asked you to, so you're not behind this deputy while he's conducting business.
I'll stand over here.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. You went and got her to trespass me? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not asking you. I'm not going to argue
That's
or
fine.
dispute it with you. I'm telling you, leave and leave right now.
Leave and leave right now. Can I get your name and badge number before I go?
Leave and leave right now.
Can I get your name and badge number?
No, sir. You
Before I
leave
go?
and leave right now.
Okay. I'll tell my wife to move it. I'll move over here on the public right away.
All right, sir. That's it. I'm done telling you. You're under arrest. Back. Put them behind your back.
Go back there.
Don't resist me.
So, therefore, he interfered. That's an obstruction.
And to the best of your knowledge, as you sit here today, the only thing of which you're aware, as we sit here today, that Mr. Gray did or omitted to do, that prompted Deputy Cook to call for backup was photograph and or video record Deputy Cook's traffic stop. Is that correct?
Yes.
You're not aware of Mr. Gray having done anything else to prompt Deputy Cook to call for backup. Is that right?
Correct.
And yet, your testimony is also that it sounds to me, correct me if I'm wrong, that because Mr. Gray's photography and videography and or videography prompted Deputy Cook to call for backup, Mr. Gray committed the crime of obstructing the traffic stop. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so, again, I just want to be absolutely crystal clear. Your testimony is that Mr. Gray obstructed the traffic stop.
Yes.
And he did so by photographing and or video recording Deputy Cook.
His actions caused him to stop his traffic stop, interfered with his traffic stop, which is what the obstruction is.
And so by photographing and or video recording Deputy Cook from 35 feet away, Mr. Gray committed the crime of obstructing Deputy Cook's traffic stop. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And did he do that prior to you arresting him?
Yes.
And then what happened?
I arrested him on the right of way in front of this traffic stop.
Is it your understanding that Mr. Gray committed a crime by leaving his van in the parking lot after you issued him a warning to leave?
I believe it was part of the trespass crime, yes.
So someone can be subject to arrest not only by refusing to leave after having been issued a trespass warning, but also by leaving property, personal property like a van, on someone else's property after having been issued a trespass warning. Is that your understanding of the law?
No, I don't think just leaving personal property on someone else's property is a crime. I think if you're trespassing and you're told to get in your van and leave, and you just walk away and leave your van with your wife and kid in it, that's part of that element for that particular incident. Okay.
Okay. Your testimony is that even if he had immediately departed the property and proceeded onto, say, the right-of-way, but left his van, still left his van in the parking lot, he could have still been subject to arrest for trespassing after warning because of the fact that he left his van in the parking lot.
Not just because he left the van in the parking lot.
Why else then?
I guess the question would be, why leave your van with your child and your wife in it when you could just get in the van and take the van, your property, off of the property that you're being trespassed from and alleviate the problem? I guess that would be the question.
It's not the question.
Well, I mean, I know, it's not the question, but to answer your question is no, it's not a crime to just leave property somewhere.
Okay. And that is the question.
Okay, yes.
My question is...
No, it's not a crime to just leave it there.
It's only a crime if he refuses to remove his person from private property.
So it's part of the trespass crime, but then now we go back to the obstruction crime. If I tell him, take your van and your wife and your child and leave this property that you're being trespassed from verbally, and you refuse to do that, now doesn't that go back to now he's not complying with that? I mean...
And I want to make sure I understand.
If he would have just left, problem would have been solved. I believe if after he was told he was trespassing, if he would have got in his van and drove away, there would have been no situation. I believe if he didn't get out and walk into the grass there and cause some kind of fear or some kind of concern with Deputy Cook, I wouldn't have even had to come to the scene. So if he would have just, I don't want to say, if he would have just been a nice guy, and if I said, hey sir, can you just go stand up there and take all the video you want, but he didn't want to. He wanted to prove his point, and here we are.
If he had been a nice guy.
Yes.
You told him that he can kiss your ass, right?
No, I didn't tell him that.
You didn't say that?
I said it, but I didn't tell it to him. That was after the fact. That was his recording still going.
Okay. But Mr. Gray was the guy who was not a nice guy that day.
That is correct.
After this test of Hersky, am I free to go?
How do you fight against an officer's word against yours?
I'm gonna look at my toe. I'm gonna count to
parallel to the ground, okay? Without the video, Smith Skinner may easily have been convicted based on Officer Zahersky's testimony alone.
I understand what I'm doing, but I've done 3 tests.
Welcome back to the Lackluster channel. Steven Zahersky is a retired professional football player who played offensive lineman for 3 seasons with the Cleveland Browns and Jacksonville Jaguars. And after his playing career, Zahersky became a police officer working in North Rialton, Ohio, where he was honored as Cuyahoga County's top OVI cop for 7 consecutive years.
Zahersky is a top DUI enforcer year after year. At one time, the best in Ohio.
In 2016, numerous posts referred to him on Facebook because of how many OVI arrests he makes each year. The year prior, his department made a total of 294 OVI arrests, and Steve was credited to 124 of them. During an interview after receiving an award for the arrests, Officer Zahersky said, quote, "I like to be nosy, so I'm going to stop a lot of cars to see what they're doing and why they are doing it." At the time, the department had no body cams and no dash cams for any of their members. And in October of 2018, Officer Zahersky pulled over 22-year-old Austin Smith Skinner for his window tint and license plate light. Fortunately for Austin, he recorded the encounter.
All right, whenever you raise a foot, doesn't matter which foot, about 6 inches off the ground, you'll count 1,001, 1,002, 1,003.
After a series of tests, Austin was arrested for OVI.
Smith Skinner was also charged with fleeing, resisting arrest, and more.
When Austin appeared in court, his attorney called Officer Zahersky to the stand, and by then, they had noticed a pattern in the officer's reports.
What we did today was review a whole bunch of his reports. They all have kind of the same buzzwords in them, saying that the driver's eyes are bloodshot red and watery. That appears in just about every one that he wrote.
With that in mind, Austin's attorney questioned Officer Zahersky about his client's behavior during the stop that led him to think that he was operating a vehicle while under the influence. Zahersky testified that Austin slurred his speech, writing the same thing in his report 27 times.
1,028, 1,029. You're gonna go roughly to 30, okay, Austin? Now, doesn't matter which foot you use. You use it right or left. Arms need to be down to your sides. Both legs straight, and the foot that you raise, you need to be looking down at that toe. Make sure it's parallel to the ground, to about 6 inches off the ground, okay?
And after this test of Hersky, am I free to go?
Well, I'm trying to determine what's going on here, so let's figure out what we're doing with this test. You understand what you're doing here?
After this test, am I free to go?
You understand what you're doing here, Austin?
I understand what I'm doing, but I've done 3 tests.
Okay. Understand the instructions?
Yes. I'm gonna look at my toe. I'm gonna
make
count
sure it's
to
parallel to the ground, okay? A little bit higher than that.
What do you want, a level?
Foot 6 inches, yeah, parallel to the ground. That's parallel. This is not parallel.
6, 7, 8, 9. Small steps backwards.
That is the cell phone video that Austin Smith Skinner took while doing sobriety tests. He had a bit of an attitude, but performed pretty well. However, Officer Steve Zahersky didn't think so and cited him, making references to his slurring words 27 times in his report.
We just got into a fight. We wanted to go to our friend's house. I'm sorry my taillight's out. I will fix it. Literally, look. I backed into something earlier. Like, my taillight's busted. I have to get my front fog light fixed. If you want to see it, you can see it. Like, I will go and fix this stuff.
How do you fight against an officer's word against yours?
Manning had him demonstrate slurring. It was nothing like what was on the tape.
Having demonstrated what slurring was, I think that was key.
Officer Zahersky also testified that Austin swayed during the tests, and that at one point he raised both of his hands. But again, only after the officer testified would Austin's attorney play the video of the field sobriety tests. And when he did, he directed the officer to say stop when Austin raised his hands.
1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, 1010, 1011, 1012, 1013, 1014, 1015, 1016, 1017, 1018, 1019, 1020, 1021, 1022, 1023, 1024, 1025, 1026, 1027, 1028, 1029, 1030. You want me to go any further? I do that.
In the judge's opinion after the trial, he wrote that Officer Zahersky remained silent during the review of the tape. All of Austin's charges were dropped, with the judge adding that Austin performed the tests in what could only be described as in a flawless fashion.
Attorney Anthony Manning tried the OVI case, challenging Zahersky's account of things.
It's the same routine.
Almost like it's a template that he filled out.
Exactly.
Smith Skinner was found not guilty.
The judge also added that Officer Zahersky's report was replete with inaccuracies and falsehoods, attesting to the inaccurate statements while under oath, and that there was no question that the stop, continued detention, and subsequent arrest of Austin resulted in a substantial intrusion upon his constitutionally protected liberty interest, in direct violation of his civil rights and the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution. The department had conducted their own internal investigation prior to the trial, and at the time, of course, they found no wrongdoing. Police Chief Kenneth Bilonovich said that he believed the judge's ruling to be, quote, a personal attack. However, after the trial, he suspended Zahersky for 1 day after finding that the officer was, quote, not as familiar with the case as he was testifying to as he should have been, in part because of an unvetted cell phone video that the officer did not get to watch before he testified. The chief stated that he found no proof that the officer lied or purposefully filed a police report with inaccuracies or falsehoods.
Judge Timothy Gilligan in court saw the video after Zahersky's testimony, and he quickly noted the difference between what he saw in the video and what Officer Zahersky testified to under oath.
A police officer testifies in court that someone he charged with DUI was slurring his words during sobriety tests. Well, the video doesn't show it, and now the officer has a date in court.
Police officer Stephen Zahersky said that Austin Smith Skinner had watery eyes, was kind of unsteady, and also was slurring his words. After watching the tape, the judge cleared Smith Skinner, but he did something else. He also referred the case to county prosecutors to see if Zahersky had committed perjury. Judge Gilligan was none too happy, and in his judgment entry said what Zahersky did in his report and on the stand stains the badge of all courageous police officers dedicated to protect and serve. Read together. He wanted a grand jury investigation and got it.
After the judge found Zahersky lied in a police report and under oath on the stand, the officer was charged with perjury, tampering with evidence, and falsification. Fast forward to just 1 day before Zahersky's trial was set to begin, his legal team filed a motion to dismiss the case, claiming that the prosecution failed to properly preserve the original cell phone used to record the video, and instead of seizing the phone and doing a forensic copy of its contents, the prosecutor had used a copy of the video that had already been entered into evidence in municipal court during Austin's OVI trial. The officer's attorney argued that without a forensic copy, that there wasn't a way to prove that the video wasn't edited or altered, and if the video couldn't be authenticated, that it should be thrown out.
Attorneys with different views of whether or not a video showing an OVI test was altered. North Royalton police officer Steve Zahersky's trial began this afternoon. Now, his lawyers unsuccessfully tried to have that video of him arresting a suspect thrown out.
So the tape appeared to show a different behavior than what Zahersky wrote in a police report.
His attorneys wanted the video thrown out because it was a copy and they were unable to view it on the phone that took it. They feared it could have been doctored.
It would be important to see that entire video to know what preceded it and what the importance is.
If it exists.
Judge Shirley Strickland Saffold listened to both sides and decided to watch the video herself.
4, 5, 6, 7.
It didn't take her long to decide.
Nothing indicates in court by the showing of the tape that the video had been altered or was not in its original form.
Before the trial, Officer Zahersky was offered a plea deal, but he refused the offer.
Officer Zahersky was offered a plea deal to take it down to a misdemeanor, but he'd have to give up his police certification. He didn't want to do that, so he's risking those 3 felonies now. As the trial begins, we expect opening statements tomorrow.
The next day, opening statements began, and almost immediately after, the officer was offered an even better plea deal. No felony charges, just 1 count of misdemeanor obstruction, and he wouldn't have to give up his police certification.
A North Royalton police officer entered a guilty plea this morning to an obstruction charge. The surprise plea came in the middle of his trial.
He said the man slurred his words repeatedly, but the videos we saw showed otherwise.
The officer faced 2 felonies and a misdemeanor charge. He had maintained his innocence, but today he agreed to plead guilty to 1 misdemeanor charge.
This morning we entered into some negotiations.
Before the first witness hit the stand, Special Prosecutor John Ricotta addressed the court. He and the defense had entered into a plea agreement, dropping the most serious charges, felony charges, including perjury against Steve Zahersky. He was left with a second-degree misdemeanor obstruction. He jumped at the deal.
In exchange for that plea, other charges, including 2 felony counts, were dismissed.
Officer Zahersky took the offer, but the judge barely allowed it.
Okay, I promise to accept it. Okay.
A surprise plea deal in the trial of a North Royalton police officer appears to surprise the judge, who appeared, as you just saw, to have second thoughts.
How do you plead, sir? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty, Your Honor.
And are you in fact guilty?
Yes, Your Honor.
Zahersky appeared humbled by having to say the words. In front of fellow officers, he apologized for letting the case go on as long as it did. He never admitted purposely falsifying his report.
I think I need to prepare myself better on my reports and testimony, and this wouldn't be a situation that happened today.
Judge Shirley Strickland Saffold's comments after sentencing left you scratching your head in a way as she addressed the parties to the plea.
And I feel bad about this plea. I do, Henry. I do, Mr. Ricotta, because I don't know what he did.
She is not alone. Zahersky's lawyer simply described the negotiations as being fluid.
With the felony charges dropped, Zahersky was sentenced to 1 year of probation, ordered to pay a $50 fine, and was recommended that if he returned to his job as a police officer, that he would have to serve on restricted duty for at least 1 year.
For the next year, North Royalton police officer Steve Zahersky will be back at work, but on restricted duty. Basically, that's inside work. That finding came out of the blue this morning.
Now, the judge also finds Zahersky and sentenced him to inactive probation for 1 year. He will also be on restricted duty with the police department for about a year.
2 more people who claim to have been wrongfully arrested by Officer Zahersky came forward. Notably, their charges were also eventually dismissed. It's unclear how many of these cases settled before going to lawsuit, but Officer Zahersky is named in at least 2 civil rights claims online. Unfortunately, there is no information on whether Austin's case was one of the ones that settled.
There is a side benefit to all of this. Something like this is not likely to happen again here in North Royalton. Since the Zahersky affair, all the officers have been equipped with dash cams and body cams.
A big thanks to an anonymous viewer for sending me in this story, who tells me that Steve Zahersky is back out on the streets and has recently pulled over his brother, accusing him of drinking and driving. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And of course, if you like this video, be sure to check out another one, linked on screen.
In April 2009, Pastor Stephen Anderson was charged with misdemeanor counts of resisting an order from a public official and obstructing a highway by the state of Arizona, which filed criminal charges following a high-profile confrontation at an interior Border Patrol checkpoint. The charges stemmed from events on April 16, 2009 at a checkpoint located on Interstate 8 near Yuma, Arizona. During the stop, Mr. Anderson refused to consent to a search of his vehicle or a referral to a secondary inspection area, citing his Fourth Amendment rights. The situation escalated into a 90-minute standoff that concluded when Department of Public Safety officers broke his car windows, tased him, and forcibly removed him from the vehicle. The case was heard in Yuma County Justice Court before Judge Elizabeth G. Underwood. On December 16, 2009, Agent Ernesto Gomez, who was present at the moment of the incident, was called by the prosecution. During the trial, after Agent Gomez answered the direct examination of the prosecutor, Mr. Anderson attorney, Mark J. Victor, had the opportunity to cross-examine him.
Did you testify earlier that you sometimes ask what country people were born in?
Yes, sir.
Is it possible to be born in another country and still be a U.S. citizen?
Yes, sir.
When you're at the Border Patrol checkpoint, your duties are to enforce immigration laws and look for terrorists and look for weapons of mass destruction and assist in detecting narcotics. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And when you do this, of course, you're following a procedure manual that tells you what to do?
Following policy, sir.
Written policy?
Yes, sir.
You have a copy of that written policy?
No, I do not, sir.
Have you ever seen a copy of that written policy?
That states our authority to conduct immigration checks or for the checkpoint itself, sir?
For that checkpoint?
No, I'm not, sir.
Are you aware of any written guidelines or policies or procedures on how to run that checkpoint?
I am aware that they're out there, sir.
You're aware that they're out there? Let me get this straight. You're testifying right now that you are aware that there are written guidelines and procedures for this checkpoint?
Can you state that question again, sir?
Is it your testimony here and now that there are written guidelines and procedures for this checkpoint?
To my knowledge, yes, sir.
Have you seen them?
No, I have not, sir.
But to your knowledge, they exist?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall on June 1st of this year giving a telephonic statement to Mr. Victor?
I do not recall the exact date, but yes, I do recall a telephonic interview, sir.
Do you recall you were in a room with Mr. Katz?
Yes, sir.
I believe there was another attorney in the room who was a representative of the Border Patrol Union?
Yes, sir.
And you were on the telephone to Mr. Victor?
Yes, sir.
And you're aware that that tape recording was being recorded?
Yes, sir.
And were you trying to tell the truth at that time?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember being asked during that statement if you were aware of any written guidelines, policies, and procedures for this checkpoint?
Do I remember that specific question, sir?
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
Do you remember saying that you were not aware of any written
I really just need a break this time, man. I'm serious. Like, I know that I'm doing...
What do I need to give you a break on?
What is wrong with you?
When a state trooper gives you a lawful order, you do it.
This is wrong. You're going to get fired.
On March 4th, 2025, a federal grand jury in Louisville, Kentucky, returned a federal criminal indictment. This is the story of Kentucky State Police Trooper James Cameron Wright. He was charged with 3 counts. 2 counts of using excessive force and 1 count of perjury, lying under oath.
Once you had him on the ground, did you strike or hit him with a closed fist at all?
No, sir. He did not need to be struck with my hands or any impact weapon.
But the story of this guy should send a shiver down your spine. Everybody, all the way to the very top of the Kentucky State Police leadership, knew that this guy was a bad cop.
So the cover-up goes all the way up to the current KSP commissioner.
Even with full knowledge of Wright's propensity to commit unlawful violence, and that he had lied about it under oath, instead of firing him, they gave him an award, Trooper of the Year. And as a result, he kept doing it over and over again, including to this guy, John Millett. And I'm going to show you the exclusive body cam footage of what he did to that guy that finally got him in real trouble. And only through the tenacity of a brilliant Kentucky civil rights lawyer, Chris Wiest, did the feds finally step in. I talked to Chris and he revealed massive systemic problems within the Kentucky State Police. You need to hear it for yourself and share it with your friends, your family, because this is unbelievable. It was March 12th of 2024, near the city limits of the town of West Point, Kentucky. Kentucky State Police Trooper James Cameron Wright was on duty in uniform in his marked patrol vehicle. Wright initiates a traffic stop for failure to signal. His dash cam is operating and it shows him stopping the vehicle and then getting out and approaching the driver. Upon contact, he begins to suspect that the driver, John Millett, may be intoxicated.
Lost, bub?
I believe so. I was looking for...
You seem like you're pretty lost.
Yeah, I was looking for somebody who was selling something on Facebook and...
Oh, where are you trying to get to?
It's...
You know where you're going without looking at your phone?
No, I was getting the address.
Oh, where are you trying to get to, like in general? Like Muldrow? Trying to get
it was supposed to be Muldrow, I think.
Oh, you're going the wrong way then, bub.
Oh, okay.
You care to put the cigarette out while we're talking? Because it gets stuck out the window at me, and I don't want to sit here and deal with the smoke while. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Wright then asks Mr. Millett for his driver's license and insurance.
I get the driver's license insurance card on you?
I don't have insurance at the time. I just got my taxes, and I'm looking for car insurance rates.
Sure. Okay.
I'm serious. I really...
No, I believe you.
And
And Millett responds that he does not have insurance. And then he basically begs Trooper Wright, saying that he needs a break.
I really just need a break this time, man. I'm serious. Like, I know that I'm doing...
What do I need to get a break on?
I'm doing everything wrong. I don't have tags. I don't have insurance.
Okay. I mean, I can deal with that. I'll be honest, I care about that stuff, but I couldn't care less about that compared to others. See what I'm saying? Like, nothing illegal inside the vehicle?
No.
Okay. So where are you trying to get to?
Muldrow.
Okay, I got you.
Then Wright asks Mr. Millett to turn his car off, to which he complies.
You don't care to turn the car off, okay?
Wright asked Mr. Millett to step out of the vehicle so that he could talk to him. Wright then himself opens Millett's door as Mr. Millett begins to step out.
All right, step down and talk to me real quick, okay? No guns, no weapons on your person?
No.
Trooper Wright yells at Mr. Millett not to reach for anything as Mr. Millett gently tosses an object that he had in his hands onto the passenger seat.
Don't reach for anything, you understand me? Yeah. Hey, you reach for anything.
Mr. Millett is seen on the body cam raising his hands and that he had a phone in his left arm. Wright grabs Mr. Millett's right arm. Wright again tells Mr. Millett to step out, even though Mr. Millett had already been doing so.
Step out.
With Trooper Wright having grabbed Mr. Millett to control him, and with Mr. Millett having his cell phone in his left hand, Mr. Millett's hands are still raised, demonstrating compliance.
Look, I was just grabbing my lighter.
Even though Mr. Millett did not resist Wright in any way, Wright bear hugs Mr. Millett and violently throws him to the ground.
I'm not even doing nothing wrong.
Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back.
I'm not even doing nothing wrong.
Get on your belly.
And it was only going to get worse from there.
What is wrong with you?
When a state trooper gives you a lawful order, you do it.
But to understand how we got to this point and how this very footage resulted in finally getting accountability against this trooper, we have to go back like 5 years on the timeline, because it would not have happened but for all of the crazy things that happened before. Mr. Millett's lawyer, who filed a federal civil rights lawsuit just a few weeks ago, is going to walk us through that timeline because he himself was the lawyer who was involved 5 years earlier in trying to hold that trooper accountable back then.
March 6th, 2020, there is a chase of a gentleman by the name of Justin Halcomb. Stops his video, steps out, puts his hands on his truck. Hospital photos afterwards where Halcomb is jacked up and bloody. As a Davis incidents is they generate what is known as an RR report in KSP parlance, which is a response to resistance report. KSP policy is basically to criminally charge every single person that they beat or abuse with obstruction of justice or resisting arrest, specifically resisting arrest, regardless of whether or not, this is in their policy, regardless of whether or not they in fact resisted. If you use force on somebody, you're going to charge them. It's a cover. The policy, the cover-up is embedded in KSP policy if they resist arrest, regardless of whether or not, this is in their policy, regardless of whether or not they in fact resisted. If you use force on somebody, you're going to charge them. It's a cover. The policy, the cover-up is embedded in KSP policy. It's insane. The lieutenant colonel that's in charge of operations is now the KSP commissioner. And in that capacity, he is reviewing the internal affairs recommendations on these response to resistance reports. And he signs off on and approves that there was no unlawful use of force on both Davis and Halcomb, both of which a federal grand jury has found probable cause to arrest and charge these troopers with criminal use of force. So the cover-up goes all the way up to the current KSP commissioner.
Philip Burnett.
Philip Burnett, his signature is on these response to resistance reports.
The guy who is now the head of the Kentucky State Police signed off on those uses of force as being justified or being lawful. And now, 5 years later, a federal grand jury has indicted Wright for both of those uses of force.
Correct. Davis incident. We've got the Alex Hornback incident, which you've reported on. I've reported on. We've got the video. They didn't know we had basement camera. They threatened mom and dad with arrest over the dad's cell phone video because they didn't want any of it.
Trooper Wright and also Trooper Zartorsky, neither one of them knew that Chris had this video from inside the home that showed them striking Mr. Hornback. Since they did not know that proof existed that they did that, even though they were under oath at the deposition, they lied and said they did not strike him at all. Chris caught them red-handed committing perjury. Here you can see for yourself Trooper Wright lying under oath.
Once you had him on the ground, did you strike or hit him with a closed fist at all?
No, sir.
Okay. Or any part of your body?
No, sir.
Okay. And the reason that you didn't do that is that there was no more force that was required at that point in time to have affected the arrest, right?
He did not need to be struck with my hands or any impact weapon.
Maybe the craziest part of the story is what happened afterwards. In that lawsuit, the federal judge calls out these two cops for lying. So what do Kentucky prosecutors and the Kentucky State Police do as a result? Both cops, Wright and Zartorsky, lied about unnecessarily beating and striking Mr. Hornback. But only Zartorsky was forced to resign and indicted on state perjury charges, and ultimately convicted never to work as a police officer again. Given the fact that Wright did the exact same thing as Zartorsky, why didn't any of that happen to him? He was not fired. He was not forced to resign. He was not charged. In fact, he was given an award for Trooper of the Year. You could not make this up if you wanted to.
Zartorsky ends up being, ending his career with the KSP. He's put on probation for state perjury charge. He's never allowed to hold a law enforcement career. He's in the military as an officer at the time in the National Guard, I believe. Part of his probation term is that had to end. So he's taken out of positions of trust and confidence as a consequence of the perjury conviction. Wright, meanwhile, is allowed to continue and, in fact, is nominated by Burnett and others as Trooper of the Year with knowledge of all of this going on. Okay, so he's the pedestal guy that they're holding up. The perjurer, by the way, Wright was indicted for perjury by the feds recently for his same testimony in the Hornback case. So we've got all this going on, and it's being covered up. And in fact, they're holding Wright up as the Trooper of the Year in and around that time with knowledge of all of this. By the way, one of the things that we've also come to learn, and this is in the was himself the subject of multiple lawsuits.
What is his name?
Yeah, let me find it. Jeremy Mabe.
M-A-B-E?
M-A-B-E. Yeah, so Mabe's the immediate supervisor who's assigned to investigate most of these uses of force. And generally he is writing in repeated use of force investigations. The subject took a belated aggressive stance, and that justifies all these people getting jacked up. And Mabe is involved in the whitewash. So that's also going on. And there's a pattern of it, including the investigation of Halcomb and Davis, both of which are the subject of federal indictments at this point. Halcomb had whitewashed, belated aggressive stance. So that's also going on. March 12, 2024, we've got the incident with my client, Mr. Millett. There is the traffic stop. I don't think there's any argument by us about the legality of the stop, nor is there argument by us about the legality of the arrest. It's somewhat apparent that, he had been drinking a little, and I don't think we take issue with that aspect of it, but we do take issue with the use of force. And so Wright's got body-worn camera. There's also some dash camera footage. My whistleblower, by the way, is prepared to testify that when KSP first got body cameras, one of the first people it was issued to was Cameron Wright, because they knew he was out there tuning up citizens, illegally, and they wanted, to kind of tone him down a little bit by getting him a body camera. It didn't stop him, obviously.
So turning back to the body cam footage showing what happened to Mr. Millett at the hands of James Cameron Wright, Wright had thrown Mr. Millett to the ground. Once on the ground, Wright demanded that Mr. Millett place his hands behind his back. So Mr. Millett did that. He immediately placed his hands behind his back.
I'm not even doing nothing
wrong. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back.
But then Wright yells for Mr. Millett to get on his belly. Mr. Millett's hands are still behind his back at that point.
I'm not even doing nothing wrong.
Get on your belly.
Wright then yells again for Mr. Millett to get on his belly, and less than a second later,
get on your belly.
Wright then deploys his taser. Wright's dashcam footage reveals not just one, but two separate deployments of his taser, where you hear popping noise for extended periods of time. Wright continues his taser deployment for approximately 10 seconds.
Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. Do not move. You understand me?
After Wright ceases taser deployment, Mr. Millett flips to his stomach with his hands behind his back.
What is wrong with you?
When a state trooper gives you a lawful order, you do it. Do not move. You understand? You are under arrest.
For what?
For obstructing and now resisting arrest.
No, I did. Your camera will show.
Yeah, do not move.
I swear to God, it'll show.
I can smell weed. I can smell alcohol.
There ain't no fucking weed in the car.
Yeah, I can smell alcohol on you.
No, you ain't got no right to search my vehicle. I didn't do nothing wrong. I ain't do nothing wrong.
Mr. Millett is then handcuffed and pulled to his feet. Immediately after that, Trooper Wright again gratuitously throws Mr. Millett back to the ground, injuring him. Mr. Millett complains and screams out due to severe shoulder pain.
Do not dare try to go back towards that car.
Why did you do this to me? My shoulder's broke, dude.
It ain't broke.
You just fucking slammed me.
Stand up.
You just slammed me and I didn't even touch you.
You tried to pull me back towards your
No,
car.
I didn't.
Quit pulling against me. You're
Stop.
going down.
I have rights. This is wrong. You're gonna get fired.
No, you're drunk. I can still leave. And I'm about to search that car, so you better tell me what's in the car right now.
Basically, he just escalates a routine traffic stop into violence, just like he's done in all these other incidents.
Oh yeah, I think we're now like case 6 or 7 of this, that we know of, and frankly, there's a lot more to it. My understanding is he has generated over 100 use of force incidents, but we're still investigating that.
What happened with the criminal prosecution of Millett?
So he was charged with resisting and everything else. That gets knocked down. I think he pled to an open container charge and a reduced charge on the driving of influence charge.
At what point was the use of force questioned in the Millett incident?
Well, by KSP, because Millett goes to the hospital, right? Millett wasn't just tased. I think he was thrown twice. And as a consequence of all of this, he's taken to Baptist Health for treatment. Ultimately, he goes to the hospital. He's got a fracture of 7 of his ribs, a dislocation of his left shoulder. Obviously, when the taser strikes you twice, but he was tased twice, those probes go into your skin. It's like a barb that goes into your skin. So all that occurs. That's his physical injuries. Because he is taken to the hospital, they have to do an RR report. And there's a discussion between him and the lieutenant at the scene. We think it's Lieutenant McKee, but I'm not 100% sure about that. So I've sued all the lieutenants. And they're talking about how Wright needs to respond to this to not, to not violate policy. Basically, they're talking about how, it's on the camera at the hospital. There's this discussion with the lieutenant of like how to cover it up. That's pretty problematic. Although that's part and parcel with what's going on at post 4 KSP. So, like I said, there's a pattern of practice issue here. Millett's admitted to St. Mary's Hospital. We've got 7 days of hospital admission records with all this treatment. And so, all that's going on as well.
He was hospitalized for 7 days as a result of this?
Yes.
Damn.
He's got broken ribs. Like, he's significantly jacked up as a consequence of this. We're getting ready to sue. And I was aware for a while that the FBI was looking into Cameron Wright as early in Zertworski as early as 2021. I might want to mention Sergeant Mabe. We talked about him. He was sued in 2017 for a use of force incident and threatening to illegally arrest road workers. He was sued again. This is the investigator, right? This is the guy that's holding people accountable. Sued again for excessive force and false arrest in Turner v. Mabe in 2020 in federal court. So, who's policing the people that are supposed to police the police? Like when they're getting sued themselves. So, there's a problem here.
And then he did it again a few months after Millett to this Blevins guy.
Yep, the Blevins.
I'm just looking at that one real quick. I ain't got to get out of here.
A typical traffic stop last June turned tense when a Kentucky trooper turned his taser on Dawson Blevins.
I was thinking he wasn't going to stop tasing me.
A lawsuit filed Monday claims trooper James became aggressive when Blevins didn't want to get out of the car. He eventually did, and that's when the situation escalated.
Oh, on video.
The video, Blevins is tackled and tased multiple times. Pressing to Wright, he can't comply with his orders.
Put your hands behind your back. Okay.
He was then maced.
Put your hands behind your back.
Yet another case of him taking just a routine traffic stop.
98 discuss what the command staff knew of, how there was the systemic cover-up. That we're prepared to substantiate that by way of testimony. We got a KSP insider that's willing to point the finger all the way up the chain of command on this, and it's a problem. I don't know why they are undertaking cover-up as opposed to trying to clean up the organization, appropriately training troopers on active versus passive resistance. The rot is all the way to the top, and it's unfortunate because KSP for a long time always had this gold standard in Kentucky. I do think the accountability's got to run to the top, and I'd love to get some systemic changes in how they train, how they handle resistance response. They went out. I don't know if you know this. This was in the complaint, true story, substantiated by open records requests. They went out and spent money on a new tracking system in place with other organizations called IA Pro. They spent more than $100,000 for IA Pro software, and it would allow tracking of these E42 incidents that now they're covering up. They decided not to do that because they don't want tracking within KSP of these use of force incidents to be able to demonstrate pattern and practice. This is not sort of a, hey, I'm at the top, I'm busy, this didn't catch my attention. This is, I am making deliberate decision making to cover up serious misconduct all the way to the top of the organization. Cameron Wright, he gets criminally charged by the United States Department of Justice. By the way, when they came in, it's not just the local U.S. attorneys that are part of this. If you look at the appearance, there are attorneys from Maine Justice, the criminal division, the Civil Rights Division criminal section. I think there's 4 or 5 of them that have been assigned to this. This has gotten the attention of Washington, D.C. It's been that bad. They're indicting Cameron Wright. KSP leadership is signing off on the same incidents. There's a disconnect.
Is Wright still employed by the Kentucky State Police?
He is employed. They put him on paid leave, is my understanding, pending the criminal outcome. So even the indictment was not sufficient to end his employment. He is being paid, that's my understanding, he's being paid by the taxpayers to sit at home right now while his criminal charges are pending. Wright was indicted, by the way, just so I can be clear, for the March 5th incident on Mr. Halcomb, use of force, excessive use of force, for the March 12th incident on my client, Mr. Millett, so that's number 2, that's the second use of force, and for the perjury incident in the Hornback case. Those were the 3 charges that have been federal charges against Cameron Wright. I think I've run, because I was curious what his sentencing guidelines would be if he's convicted on all 3, assuming he doesn't plea. I think he's looking at around 3 to 4 years in a federal penitentiary if he's convicted on all of his charges.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it. I think that brings us up the timeline to the present.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can do another update video after he's convicted and you guys have won this lawsuit. Well, there you have it. Serious problems in Kentucky. It's so bad that the feds are having to come in and prosecute this guy for uses of force that the literal head of the Kentucky State Police personally approved of and signed off on back when they happened. It's no wonder we're seeing so many videos coming out of Kentucky. Hell, my last video was on the Kentucky State Police. So I will continue to follow this for sure. You can follow along by subscribing both here and at the blog at civilrightslawyer.com. You can help by spreading this footage, including to your politicians. Everybody in the country ought to know what is happening right now in Kentucky. This is not a political issue. This is not a partisan issue. This is an issue of police leadership in Kentucky not following the laws and rules that we already have and expect them to follow, which government employees will do if there's no accountability, if nobody is watching them. Remember, our rights don't end where your fear begins. Freedom is scary. Deal with it.
It is Wednesday, January 7th, and Governor Tim Walz is royally screwed. His political career now over. His attorney general as well, Keith Ellison, Barack Obama's best friend, also caught red-handed. All of it coming out today at the oversight hearing, just how complicit both of these guys are. Keith Ellison even caught on recording accepting what sounds like a bribe for votes, a quid pro quo for votes in return for protection for these fraudsters, for these Somali fraudsters. Unbelievable. Let's start with this.
Now they're looking at the state's attorney general, Keith Ellison. Why? Because the state's top cop here in Minnesota was caught in an audio recording behind closed doors meeting with a group of soon-to-be convicted Somali fraudsters. They were asking the attorney general for help to get more funding. Listen to this.
The only way we can protect what we have is by inserting ourselves into the political arena, putting our votes where it needs to be, but most importantly, putting our dollars in the right place and supporting candidates that will fight to protect our interests.
That's right.
You can only protect our interests when we have your back, and you don't have to worry about who's behind you.
And also this group was talking about, as you heard there, supporting his campaign. So Keith Ellison is pushing back on this. He said that he takes fraud seriously. He shared in an op-ed writing this: I took a meeting in good faith with people I didn't know, and some turned out to have done some bad things. I did nothing for them, and I took nothing from them. But some of those now convicted Somali fraudsters did donate money to Ellison's campaign, according to documents obtained by the Center for the American Experiment.
That was the highest law enforcement officer in the state of Minnesota, Attorney General Keith Ellison, a good friend of Barack Obama, by the way, caught on a hidden recording accepting what sounds like a bribe, a quid pro quo. And here's where it gets crazy. Who was he speaking with? The attorney representing a group of these Minnesota Somali fraudsters, explaining to the freaking attorney general this illegal conspiracy. You help protect us, shut down the inquiries into this fraud, and we'll help keep you in power, keep Democrats, keep your party in power. Saying we, meaning the Somali community, knows that they need to embed themselves into the political arena. They need to put their money in the right place and their votes, he said. This is like the worst case scenario. We assumed this was happening behind the scenes, but this is awful. The state of Minnesota has quite literally been hijacked, captured by special interests. In this case, the interests of the nation of Somalia, all the way up to the governor and the attorney general himself. This is like something you'd see in a movie. All of these native-born Minnesotans working in government, trying to blow the whistle on all of this for years, only to find out Keith Ellison and Tim Walz, their attorney general and governor, were working for the bad guys all along. Over 1,000 whistleblowers since 2020 trying to expose this, expose the fraud, this scandal. Good, hardworking Minnesotans, Americans, seeing the corruption and thinking, yeah, let's bring this to our superiors. Some even going as high as Walz and Ellison themselves, only to be terminated a week later or demoted. No joke. This is something you'd watch on like the Reacher series.
Thank you, Chairman Comer, for holding this important hearing. As I said on Monday, good riddance to Governor Walz, but he cannot escape accountability for the estimated $9 billion in fraud. How did this happen? And where the hell has the Twin Cities media been? The Star Tribune is complicit. They've had this story for years, if you just heard, and they've refused to report anything on it. In fact, they continue to try and cover up. Our Minnesota Republican colleagues have demanded answers and accountability for years, but have seen nothing from Walz, his administration, our Democrat colleagues like Tina Smith, Amy Klobuchar, Ilhan Omar, and Angie Craig, or the worthless Star Tribune. Thank God for President Donald J. Trump for finally bringing attention to this issue. Representative Rarick, I'm going to begin with you. You've been working on this issue for years. You've spoken to the whistleblowers personally. Is that correct?
That is correct.
You have an understanding that 1,000 whistleblowers running an account on X have come forward to expose fraud in Minnesota state agencies, and they have been entirely ignored by Tim Walz and have even been retaliated against. Is that accurate?
That is correct. Even this morning, I got another message.
Well, in your experience, are their claims credible, or are they politically motivated against Walz?
They're completely credible, not politically motivated.
In fact, many of these are Walz administration employees, correct?
They're actually Democrats as well.
Can you quickly give us one example of the retaliation these folks have been facing?
Yes, I can. In my opening statement, I mentioned that the most severe ones was that they would be fired with cause, so they couldn't have unemployment insurance, that they would be blacklisted from all state agencies, and I bet that it's also Hennepin County and Ramsey County, as you know, those are Democrat-run, and much, much more.
Based on what you've learned, Representative, over the last several years, do you have any doubt that Governor Tim Walz knew about this fraud as it was occurring?
He absolutely knew that it was occurring.
And what's crazy about this is that Minnesota wants to vote these people out of office. If you look at the 2024 congressional election map in the state, real Minnesotans, native-born Minnesotans, voted overwhelmingly for Republican candidates. The only place that didn't was in Minneapolis. And you want to know why? Because there's over 100,000 Somali Americans now living there. What we're learning is that the Somali community largely votes in a block. And look at the margins. Minnesota's 2nd district, the Dem won by 55,000 votes. In Minnesota's 3rd district, the Dem won by 70,000 votes. This is how Minnesota became a one-party state. Tim Walz sold out his state, sold out Minnesota for power, and if he did it for Somalia, imagine if he were the vice president right now. He would have gladly done the same thing for China, for Iran, if it meant staying in power.
Demand that there's data practices, and if they have emails showing that I have committed fraud, you should get those. Why aren't they putting them out there? Why aren't they turning them over to prosecutors?
And it's infuriating that some Democrats are still trying to defend this, excuse this. Any American who isn't outraged by this is a fool, especially Democrats, because this is their platform. All of their policies are based on expanding free benefits. They're the ones who should be especially outraged, but that's not what we're seeing. In fact, Keith Ellison telling CNN last night that his office, he says, has done more than enough to stop fraud in Minnesota. What?
Not that fraud is not a problem. Of course it is a problem, and of course we have to prosecute it, and of course we have been prosecuting it.
Have you done enough, General, to do so? I mean, one of the claims is that there has been hundreds of millions of dollars, but now there are some estimates that there could be $9 billion or more. And Noam is just suggesting they took hundreds of people off the street who were involved in fraud. Are you confident your office has done enough?
Of course we've done enough, and we're doing more every single day. This is a political matter. This is not a serious thing. And I tell you,
and at the oversight hearing today, instead of digging into the 1,000+ whistleblowers, many of them employees of Governor Tim Walz, Democrats choosing to talk about the 2020 election during a hearing on Minnesota fraud. They have some of these whistleblowers that they can speak to. They have people who know all about this sitting in front of them. Instead, they decide to throw the entire hearing into chaos. This is the state of the Democratic Party today. Watch.
He was an election denier, so an election fraud lie. Now, he claims he did these things in the name of patriotism, but really he's just a criminal. So raise your hand if you oppose Trump's pardon of this Minnesota individual.
Ma'am, this grandstanding nonsense
This is not grandstanding.
exactly
This is
what
accountability.
Minnesotans hate about D.C.
This is accountability, and you are hypocrites. So again, I will take your
Thanks for
refusal to
demonstrating your opening Mr. Chairman,
reclaiming
order,
my
decorum.
time.
She's off the
Reclaiming
rails.
my time. I'm not off the rails, please.
You are
Enough
totally
with your
off the
tropes.
rails.
Nancy,
Order.
enough with your tropes. Give me my time back.
Order, Mr. Chairman.
If Republicans were serious about reclaiming my time,
You press your time. You have no time.
Don't
get to accuse me of things about
You're out of time. You're out of time. We're done here. We're done here.
At least
Mr. Chair, she's out of time.
Time's expired.
Out of order and out of time.
Ms. Presley, you've already secured your MSNBC spot tonight. Your time's required. Chair recognizes Ms. Mace from South Carolina. Chair recognizes Ms. Mace.
And this administration.
Thank you, Mr.
Chair
Chairman.
recognizes Ms.
And
Mace.
Mr. Chairman, I agree. She's going to be a great host on MSNBC. This is my
I
time.
wouldn't want to jump in front of Ms. Mace if I were you, Ms. Presley.
I reclaim my time. This is my time.
I wouldn't want to interrupt Ms. Mace. It's her time. Chair recognizes Ms.
Mr. Chair,
You're out of order.
she did not get all of her time.
Mr. Chairman,
She
she's
wants to
still out
insult
of
us
order.
for 10 more seconds.
What do we have to do to get this woman in order?
Her time has expired. Chair recognizes
You're
Ms.
going to be
Mace.
great on TV. You're really.
That's the state of the Dem Party in Congress. The far progressive left has taken over the party. They are unserious people who are happy to wreck our country. The one positive thing is that it's showing in the polling. Congressional Democrats now have the lowest approval in polling history. We've been hearing about this for months, for like a year. but they continue to break their own negative record, under 20% approval now. Quinnipiac publishing this poll yesterday. Watch this.
How are voters feeling about Democrats right now?
Yeah, I mean, Democrats in the minds of the American public are lower than the Dead Sea. What are we talking about here? Well, let's take a look. The net approval rating for Democrats in Congress, you said it, Kate Baldwin, the lowest ever. Look at this. Overall, they are
fault. Oh, man.
Fucking again, my boy.
Dude.
In the aftermath of the Mike Puzzle cheating scam, recently a player has been caught cheating in a same kind of incident during a live stream cash game on the Hustler Casino live channel. After how Mike Puzzle was completely cast away from the poker community following his cheating and legal battles, one would assume that no poker player will have the guts to pull off a similar stunt. But that was not the case. In this video, we'll be looking at how the cheating took place and also the aftermath of the incident. This incident took place at a high-stakes no-limit hold'em cash game on February 3rd between Julio Cedillo, aka Skills Rocks, and Barry Wallace. The game in question was a 10-20-40 no-limit hold'em game where players started out by buying in for $5,000 to $10,000. Cedillo was one of the two players to buy in for the max, while the other player and victim of the alleged dirty play being regular player Barry Wallace, who was on Cedillo's direct left. Skills Rocks was loud, brash, and obnoxious, deploying plenty of speech play in an effort to tilt his opponents. Unpleasant as that behavior might be, it is sometimes part of the game. What isn't, however, is a blatant attempt to gain an advantage by spying on your opponent's holdings. Viewers of the live stream started commenting that Cedillo was clearly peeking at Barry's hold cards. I watched the entire 5-hour stream and noticed that he first does it at 1 hour 53 minutes and then at 3 hour 21 minutes. In another hand, we can blatantly see him move Barry's sunglasses on the table, allowing him a better view of his cards. In this hand, where Cedillo has Queen 5 suited, you can clearly see that he took a peek at Barry's cards. It's a very subtle peek, and if you did not pay attention, you will miss it. But if you slow it down, you can clearly see it. He just calls Barry's raise with Ace-King offsuit, trying to catch a pair. At this point, Cedillo makes a stupid mistake, trying to be cocky. He says he has a small pair and says Barry has an ace.
I don't even want to see the flop because I can't go all in because you got easy. I got a small pair.
You can notice he accidentally muttered it because he was so excited, but then, realizing his mistake, stops mid-sentence. The hand goes check-check and Cedillo luckily hits a 5 on the river. He bets 1,000 and gets snapped by Barry with ace high.
1,000.
1,000.
Yeah, he's gonna snap that off. Yeah, he is. Wow.
Now here's something interesting to note here. When you just have a pair of 5s and you get snapped on the river like that, you usually do not have the best hand. But look at how Cedillo shows his hand here. By his body language and the way he tabled his cards is like someone who has quads and was 100% confident that he had the best hand. This was the second red flag. The next hand, he does the exact same thing, trying to peek at his whole cards, and this time, he does not bluff the river, knowing Barry paired his queen.
Honestly, kind of surprised that Skills didn't try and bluff that.
The next hand was the most controversial one, which made even the commentators question what was going on. Seated to Cedillo's right was Soflo Antonio, a former YouTube prankster who is apparently Cedillo's friend. The hand began with Antonio raising to 1,200 with ace-4 offsuit on the button. Skills Rocks, holding 9-7 suited, called from the small blind, and then Barry made the call from the big blind with 10-8 offsuit. Flop comes out ace-7-9, which is an action flop. The blinds check to Antonio, who bets out 1,000, and both players called. The turn comes a 6 of spades, making Barry a straight. Again, the action checks to Antonio, and here's where it gets weird. Cedillo apparently kicks Antonio under the table to warn him not to bet. Antonio doesn't get the hint and appears confused. Antonio bets. Cedillo here has 2 pair. He gives it some Hollywood and then folds. That's an unusual play in this spot for a loose player. Unless, of course, you happen to know the player to act behind you has the absolute nuts.
He said you kicking him and then you gonna fold.
Bro, if he folds,
He's not folding. This is an angle.
Oh, really?
100.
Okay, I fold and I hold. You
Oh,
know,
he is
100%.
folding.
Wow.
But I was like,
Legitimately blown
I just
away
wanted
by
to see,
that.
put it
It's unclear whether Cedillo was trying to get the other player, Antonio, to fold, or possibly Cedillo was trying to get Antonio to check the turn so he, who had flopped 2-pair, could see a free river and try to fill up and stack Barry, who had the straight. Barry eventually wins a $19,500 pot from Antonio, but he noticed something was fishy between Cedillo and Antonio and gets up from the table to take a breather.
Y'all be talking about, hey,
That's so sick.
whatever you
I can't
did,
believe it.
whatever y'all said.
I turned it into a bluff and I had an ace. I turned it into a bluff because I thought he had another
Just give me
ace.
the money. I don't care about that weird shit.
That's crazy.
Okay,
That's
so
so crazy. I turned it into a bluff because I thought he had
I
another ace.
think
I would
there
have never
was some
thought that he
collusion
shot
going
top
on
of the
there.
club.
Even the commentator at this point thinks that there was some collusion going on between these two. Perhaps shamelessly, but more likely as an attempt at misdirection because he is on live stream. Skills Rocks makes a big deal about showing Barry what he folded, which makes no sense at all. Also, a big discrepancy that the casino missed here is that how the hell is a player allowed to walk away with 2 cards from the room and then just bring them back in and the deck stays in play? Few hands later, he does it again, getting a peek at Barry's hands and then making an insane all-in on the turn with just a straight draw.
it's close to a coin
I'm all
flip.
in.
Yeah. Whoa.
He's all in blind.
Whoa. This is just awesome.
Next hand, he does it again. Fast forward to the river, Barry sort of makes a semi-bluff with his pair of 4s, making a big bet on the river, and Cedillo here tries to do a patented Mike Postle move and just decides to go all in.
Oh my god, no, he folds! Oh man.
Fucking again, my boy. Don't play with me. Don't play with me.
Oh.
Don't play with me. Oh shit, my bad.
You serious?
In the last suspicious hand, we see an unbelievable play made by Cedillo. The hand starts obviously with Cedillo conveniently taking a peek at Barry's hole cards. Candy with a monster makes it 620 and both of them call. Flop checks around. If Candy would have bet here, she could have easily taken down the pot. Turn checks around too. On the river, Skills Rocks makes a play by betting 1500 and Barry tilted makes a snap raise of 4000 which forces Candy to fold her kings. With Candy out of the pot, Skills Rocks can now easily make Barry fold and he does just that by going all in.
I'm not going to call.
Dude!
Dude! What's up, doggy dog?
What's up, doggy dog? Let's go.
By the end of the stream, Skills Rocks was the big winner of the night. Barry Wallace, meanwhile, ended the night down under $5,000, with the majority of those losses going over to his neighbor. Less than 24 hours after the stream concluded, Hustler Casino Live had already made its decision on what they would do about the alleged poker cheating incident. Co-owners Nick Vertusi and Ryan Feldman sent out a joint Twitter statement informing fans of the show that Skills Rocks, aka Julio Cedillo, had been banned from Hustler Casino Live. Later on, some people also pointed out that seeing an opponent's hole cards, although unethical, is technically not cheating. Instead, it is the responsibility of each individual player to ensure their cards cannot be seen by an opponent. Legally speaking, looking at another player's hole cards is not a form of cheating and has never been prosecuted in a court of law. To be fair to Hustler Casino, it took the allegations quite seriously, conducted its own investigation, and ultimately followed this with a decisive decision. This was Cedillo's second time appearing on the cash game. Cedillo has acknowledged that what he did was unethical and he accepts the decision of the casino to ban him for life. Feldman says that as of now, Barry Wallace hasn't had any money returned, nor did he ask for a return.
With respect to interrogation analysis, it's no secret the benefit of hindsight gives you a considerable advantage when evaluating information. When you know a subject is guilty, it allows you to exclusively look for guilty behavior. The knowledge of outcome highlights the imperatives while stripping away non-essentials, and this allows you to calculate rest, and stated he would help in any way.
McBee, South Carolina is tiny, not quite 1,000 people. Yet our chief investigative reporter Jody Barr has reported from the town dozens of times. Why? When the people fear their government may be corrupt and they don't trust the police, journalists are the last resort. Jody Barr laid out the problems over the past 4 years. Today, state investigators swarmed McBee with search warrants and handcuffs. Chief investigative reporter Jody Barr was there as the law closed in.
Over the course of an hour, 24 state law enforcement division agents walked into and out of McBee's town hall. Agents raided the town's government center just hours after arresting Captain Greg Block, the McBee Police Department's second in charge. Not long after the sun rose over McBee, SLED agents grabbed arrest warrants and arrested Block and Janice Curtis, a McBee woman investigators say Block met during a child sex assault investigation 10 months ago. Last October, investigators say Curtis took a child to this hospital with injuries consistent with sexual assault. Curtis told the hospital the little girl fell into a refrigerator at home and injured her genitals. Court documents show the doctor suspected the injuries were consistent with a sexual assault. Block responded to the hospital where he met Curtis, and Block took over the investigation. SLED says instead of investigating, Block created an incident report, titled it Child Injury, and Block's report contained a false statement and partial information that was misleading. Block also did not schedule a forensic interview for the victim and provided false and or misleading information to DSS, the school, medical facilities, and on his McBee Police Department report. At some point, SLED says Block and Curtis began a sexual relationship.